YouTube and everyone in chat. This is your old pal Nutty. Got a great show for you today. It's gonna be an awesome build. And wait till you see Uncle Mitch. I barely recognized him when he came through the door, so are you gonna be surprised? Let's roll the intro. Bye.
Hello and welcome into the latest live broadcast here on my channel, CareyHolzman. What a unique name. I'm CareyHolzman.
I'm Mitch Morrison.
That's right. Or am I Mitch Morrison?
You wish.
Who is the real Mitch Morrison? He wants my hype.
All right.
Was, anybody's actually. I'm not that picky. It's Friday, January 19th, 2024. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Every Friday, we do a live video at 1 o'clock. hynix time.
Phonics time.
Yeah, I had to pronounce that phonetically.
That's syllable. All right.
Right. That's 12 p.m. Pacific time currently. 3 p.m. Eastern. When Eastern and Pacific, well, pretty much the rest of the world obeys daylight saving time, Phoenix stubbornly never moves our clock. So half of the year, the Pacific time and Eastern time change by an hour. We're always at 1 o'clock Phoenix time. If you're watching anywhere in the world and you don't know what that means, go to Google, type in what time is it in Phoenix, or you can just ask your phone, push the little microphone, and then whatever time it says, look at your clock and do the math. It's that easy. So, we certainly love to have you here during the live and joining us in our live interactive chat. We're unlike most other YouTube channels. We actually like our audience. We don't just say you guys are great. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. We want you to be kind and supportive to each other and to us. That's all we ask. Just be considerate. Have courtesy. And if so, you're welcome in. And thank you to all of our members and supporters. We see a lot of contributions coming in the chat already. And I want to just give a shout out to our friends over at Acronis. Acronis is the software you see me use for backing up, cloning, and imaging machines. I've been using it since 2009. I use it in my business. So, I reached out to them hoping that they would support us. And they are throughout 2024. There's a 30% off coupon if you guys are interested in any of the Acronis products. We'll also have them on throughout the year to demonstrate the product. It's a free trial if you want to check it out. And if you've missed our previous interviews and demonstrations, they're all still in the library. Just search for CareyHolzman Acronis. And most of that, if not all of it, still holds true. Even when Acronis updates the version every year, it doesn't change by that much. So, they add some new features and things. But if you watch the, most recent content that's right on with the current version, you can follow along click by click. And if you decide you'd like to buy it, I want to save you some money. It's a good price, but it's a better price when you can get 30% off.
Oh, yeah.
And then also our friends at Instant House Call. Instant House Call is the remote access software. Once again, I use it in my business. And when someone needs remote support, I'm using Instant House Call. Instant House Call also has a free trial if you want to check it out, if you need remote access to something, or if you help people with their computers. Instant House Call has a bunch of tools for technicians to help diagnose and repair computers, which makes it different from other remote software. There's also a discount code if you want to purchase that, and it's much more affordable than I think pretty much every other remote software I've used. They're like 3 times more money than Instant House Call. Also, Instant House Call is a small company. The gentleman who owns it and runs it is Corey Fruitman. Kind of sounds like CareyHolzman if I was Canadian. Anyway, he's a great guy. We've had him on the show. We also have demos of the product here if you want to learn more about it. And my thanks to Acronis and to Instant House Call for supporting us. Also, our friends at RoboForm, if you're looking for a password manager, once again, it's a tool I use and recommend to my customers.
Me too.
You use it?
Yep.
Do you use Acronis?
Oh, yes, indeed.
There you go. See, I don't even know what Mitch uses.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm here twisting anybody's arm, but you better buy this. You better
Yeah,
buy
yeah.
this.
What he doesn't use is a razor, obviously.
Who said that?
Yeah. Yeah. Chad, I have never gone in my entire life more than 3 days without shaving.
You're sporting a different look
This is
here.
close to like 2 months, and it's driving me slowly insane. But I think I told you the last time I was here, I'm going on Saturday, February 3rd. I'll be in LA shooting a scene. I'll be acting in a scene where I'm an undercover cop in a car.
Wait, you're an undercover cop?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you're just playing one on TV?
I'm playing one on TV.
Oh, then you can stay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
And I just wanted to try something different. And believe me, the second my scene is wrapped, I'm actually bringing a plug-in electric shaver.
That's coming right off.
Yeah, and I'm
cut.
gonna,
All right,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
cutting
yeah,
literally.
and, where's your bathroom? And I'm gonna just better have an outlet and just.
So when they say cut, that
Yeah.
means something else to you.
So, yeah.
When's that coming up?
Saturday, February 3rd, over in Burbank. Yeah.
Oh, in Burbank.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta fly in or drive it.
I'll drive because I want to bring a lot of different clothes. The director said, bring layers and bring,
You got to bring a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
and
so
you don't want the door blowing out on you.
no.
All right.
No.
No. What is that? A 5-6 hour drive?
Yeah, and they only,
Probably not
the
taking
airlines
notice.
are so cheap. They when you fly, they only give you one token for the restroom, and I need at least two. You know what I mean?
A token for the
Yeah,
restroom.
yeah.
Are you flying Spirit? All right.
Below Spirit, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely different. It kind of works.
Yeah.
But you don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I'll break your camera and come up here and give them the
Give them the close up of the scrags.
Give them the close up.
There he is.
Hideous.
You know what?
Hideous.
I think if we get you a cane and you put your pants up closer to your nipples,
Yeah.
we could probably get you into Sun City without any, identity verification.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, come on in. There's when you pull up to these adult living communities, there's always the guard shack, right? And then you gotta they're like, what are you doing here, young man? But I think with the beard and your pants pulled up and a cane,
Yeah.
they would just, make way. No, you don't have to stop.
And a makeup artist told me that facial hair on a man adds 10 years. And so my partner is a good-looking black kid, about 28 or 29. So I don't know. Just wanted to try something different. It's funny when I go to the
Be a
bar.
contrast.
When I go to the bar, the lady bartenders, kind of, whoa, Mitch, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really care for this look. And I was surprised that a lot of the women go, I kind of like it on you. I'm like, well, that's tough cheese because
Let's take a vote in the
because I
chat.
can't stand it.
Let's take a vote in the chat room. Should he keep the beard?
No.
You're going to have to do whatever
Yeah,
the chat
yeah.
room says.
Yeah, I never, 2 months without shaving. Terrible, just terrible.
If I ran 2 months without shaving, I might get a little stubble. My beard never grew in full, and then when it started to fill in, it's all gray now. So
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Careful what you ask for, because
So
that's how that goes.
Boy,
we got some contributions here.
good.
Where's my mouse?
Boy, will my 4 brothers and sisters be surprised when they see that clip. And I certainly, chat, will bring the clip for you guys to see here. The guy said he'll have me a copy of my scene in literally a week after we shoot it. So mid-February, when Carey has me back, I will bring the clip, and there's no cursing. So it's family friendly, and you can see me acting. Actor, yeah.
Paul O'Brien contributes €2. Says because he's happy. Nice to be happy. Hey, also €5 again from Paul O'Brien. He's got, come on guys, donate So Carey can buy Mara a nice belated Christmas present from the community. Let her know she's worth it. She need more? Does she need more stuff? All right. Well, thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Ben Laird joins us from Scotland with a 5-pound contribution. Says the temperature in Scotland, 2 degrees Celsius. You can go to bed now without 10 layers of clothes on. That's what he says. Rick Lakes with a $10 contribution. Here's 10 for Marlena. Why is she getting all the money? Is it because I don't have breasts? Yes, I do. Yeah. There's our friend Planet Cryos with a $2 contribution. He says, sup? Thank you, Planet Cryos. Thank you, Rick Lakes, Ben Laird, and Paul O'Brien. Mark Gaines joins us from Northern Ireland. 5-pound contribution. What? For Marlene. Did she say something in the chat room? What's going on over here? Ghetto Fortnite. Somebody new.
Yeah.
$1.99 in Super Chat. Thank you, Mark Gaines. Thank you, Ghetto Fortnite. Here's our friend Buster. Peter Laycock joins us from Scotland. Good evening, he says. Carey, Marlena, Mitch, and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland. The temperature in Edinburgh, 39 degrees Fahrenheit, 3 degrees Celsius at 10 o'clock in the evening. No, that's 8 o'clock in the military time. And contributes 10 pounds. As always, Peter. Buster, as we call him, thank you for your continued support, your generosity, and of course, your friendship. Ron Makura with a 2-pound contribution says, hello, Carey and chat from Liverpool. Me and John were thinking of getting the band back together.
There you go.
Hey. David Graham with a $2 contribution says, here, buy some razor blades. You better shave that down before you start razor blade. If you've never done that, it'll tear and it hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to get a trimmer.
Right.
And you got to trim it down first.
Yeah.
Then you get what I do. I actually go 3. I go the trimmer, then I go the electric shaver, but the electric shaver doesn't get close enough.
Yeah.
So after I'm done with the electric shaver, then I grab the razor.
Yeah.
And then the worst part is for the next 20 minutes, I'm feeling my face to find that one hair that's this long that somehow escaped all 3, the trimmer, the razor, and the electric razor. And I'll feel it, and I'll be like, oh, there's one right here. And then I got to stop everything I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to forget. I don't be walking around public with one hair sticking out like that. How's it going?
Yeah.
So go into the restroom, into the mirror, find that little straggler, get rid of it. I'm good. Come out. About 20 minutes later, I'm like, there's one right down here. It's like this long. It's even bigger than the last. How was that there the whole time? And then finally, check in. Finally. So you got that to look forward to.
Well, and I thought if I go into the bathroom, I would shave and just keep the stash and what do you call that? And see, and just
a handlebar mustache.
Just this much, and see if it makes me look tough. But I don't have high hopes.
You could play with it. That is fun, I suppose, when you're shaving, to kind of look at what.
Yeah.
You could see what you look like with mutton chops.
Right.
You could look and see what you look like with a soul patch.
Yeah.
With just a mustache.
Or the handlebar, yeah. So
with
but no, it's coming off.
And then right at the end you can just do the little color stash. Just to see. Nobody has to know.
Right. Yeah. But at least I can say once in my life I went 2 months without shaving, because up until now I've never gone this long. I don't like it.
Yeah. I think it's something you get used to. There's a guy on YouTube called Beard Meets Food, and he's a competitive eater, and he's got a beard like ZZ Top. And when he's done, he's shoveling this food down, because it's often, not only do you have to eat a bunch of food, but you have to do it within a certain time limit. So when he's done eating, he'll grab a napkin or a towel, and he does his whole face up like he's getting out of the shower. And I'm like, oh gosh, that's so disgusting. I can't even imagine, mustard or sauces that are still left over in the beard. Ugh, not for me.
Matt says, I feel bad for the homeless tall guy. Are you casting aspersions in my way?
Homeless tall guy?
Me.
Why are you homeless?
Yeah, I'm not, so.
Yeah. I'm sure Toto will bring you in. I mean,
that's true. somebody mentioned that they're seeing them February 18th. Again, I'm seeing them March 18th in Tucson, March 19th in Scottsdale, at, I think, Casino, Arizona. And then my brother in Vail has 6 front row seats for April 9th. He's like, you got to come up. It's front row, baby. It's, all right.
I guess your brother's a fan, runs in the family?
I'll drive again. No, I think by being around me so much and seeing my office full of nothing but Toto memorabilia of photos of me and the boys.
Now that guy in Toto, he is the son of John Williams, the guy who wrote all the movie themes, like for Star Wars, E.T., Superman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Joseph Williams, yeah.
Joseph Williams is the son of the famous John Williams,
the lead singer. And his dad's still alive, so his dad's got to be...
He's 90-something.
92 or 3,
just retired, I think.
Ooh.
John Williams is a genius.
Yeah.
Who knew? John Williams' son was in the band.
Did he do the final Indiana Jones score? Yeah. I think that was... He told Steven, I'm out. Yeah. This is it, only for you. If it was anybody else, no. But after Dial of Destiny... I'm done.
Could be wrong, but I seem to recall
him going, no, I just want to retire. So I'm like, there you go.
He's earned it.
Yeah, Star Wars, Jaws, jeez,
Superman, E.T.,
Indiana
Jones,
Close Encounters. I mean,
yeah, Close Encounters.
1941.
Never saw 1941.
No.
Some of these themes are so you hear the theme and it's iconic.
Right.
It's really become a part of the culture.
Yeah.
So, all right.
What do we got going today?
Oh, and then Duran Duran is my band.
Right.
And they're coming here to Phoenix. I'm glad to see they're still together, still playing.
Yeah. And I believe it or not, I think it's 4 of the original 5 guys. It started out as
because
5.
one guy died, I think.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Ticket prices. Just your basic general admission. Are you sitting down?
2 big ones.
$191 is where ticket prices start, and that's before the fees and the taxes and whatever else they add.
That'll be nosebleed,
and it's all the way across town. So, I really like them, but I can watch a concert on TV. So I can pull it up here on YouTube.
Yeah,
it'll probably have better seats.
Yeah,
and it's in
and you
February,
can hit
like the 4th or the 6th or something. It's coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a band they're not big right now. Like, they just released an album, a Halloween album, but it's not like it's breaking the charts or anything. So I don't get that price, other than they have a loyal fan base that obviously can sustain that ticket price. So once again, I will continue my life having never seen Duran Duran live in concert. And there's some, I'll never see the Beatles live in concert. I'll never see NXS with Michael Hutchence live in concert. So just got to learn to live with it, I suppose. I'm not paying $191 plus ticket fees and stuff.
Yeah.
Forget it. But what I will do is I'll spend money on computer parts, because I have a problem. I love building computers, and I love showing you guys all this new stuff that's coming out. So the folks over at MSI introduced last year at CES this idea of moving all of the connectors to the back of the motherboard, so you're not running all your plugs right up on the front of the board where the window is to your case. And then you got to, hide your cables or get cable combs and, all the ridiculous things people do to try and make the best of it. I'm not pointing at Mitch. I'm pointing at the streamer back there with, like the light up cable thing and all that other stuff. So it's called projectzero. And this simply is moving the connectors behind the board, which is not that big of an engineering challenge. And then it requires a special case that has openings for those connectors, to be exposed and accessible. Now, there may be some cases out there that just by coincidence are compatible with this, but I don't know what they are, and I'm not going to just try a bunch until I find one, if I find one that works. Instead, MSI just recently, so they announced this last year, but they just recently released this stuff to the public. And I couldn't find it on Amazon, but Newegg has the boards and the cases. And they had a combo where if you buy the board and the case, they'd reduce the price. Well, what good is the board without the case? Well, the case, on the other hand, is also compatible, obviously, with a regular motherboard. You don't have to use this. So I've never bought an MSI case before, but let me show you what the bundle looks like. My thanks to Mara for putting together the thumbnail and the and all the links in the video notes today. So let's go to window capture here. Now, this is a pretty good value here. For $299, you get the motherboard and you get this pretty attractive looking case here. Now, MSI sells a AMD version of a micro ATX motherboard and an Intel version micro ATX motherboard that are projectzero. And they have this case. This is a micro ATX case. You can always tell if a case is micro ATX or not by counting the PCIe slots. You can't really see it here, but if we have 7 PCIe slots, then that is going to be a full-size case, right? Or it'll take a full ATX motherboard. So if I look, I want to say this is, well, that's clearly a micro ATX board. You know, we just have the 2 slots basically here. And no connectors. Do you see any connectors?
Nope.
We'll go over here.
Very clean looking. Unlike me. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then as we go around, let's see, back I/O looks pretty standard. Nothing special. What's this on the side? What's that for? Antennas? Oh, you can flash the BIOS. Oh, that's cool.
Oh.
And then a CMOS clear.
Okay.
All right, that's pretty neat.
0.5 gig Ethernet.
Yeah, there's 10 gig. See the little 10 right there? There's your flash BIOS. So you have to put, if you want to flash the BIOS through the BIOS, it doesn't matter which USB port. But if you want to flash the BIOS through the board, in theory, you can do that without RAM or a CPU, but you've got to label it. It's got to have a certain name, and it has to be plugged into the flash BIOS port. That's the only place it'll look for it.
Okay.
And it does take a little longer. But we've got a couple 10 gig per second ports. This is a 20 gig per second. You see the 20?
Yep.
Written right there. And then we got our standard audio out, and it's got built-in Wi-Fi 6E. Now, if we move forward here to the back of the board, check this out. Scroll around here. There's your power connector. There's your USB 3.1. There's your USB 3.0. Typically, this is located exactly in the same spot on the other side of the board. All they're doing is shifting it around. There's your audio connector, USB 2 connectors, USB here, right over here. What is this? Can't read it. SATA? I guess that's where you plug in your SATA drives. Fan connectors, front port I/O, your power switch, reset switch, power LED, you know, whatever the case has to support. And other than that, it's a standard board. It's not really that dramatic of a change.
Okay.
And if we look at this case, you see the slots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's micro ATX.
Okay.
If this counted out to 7, sometimes it's hard to judge from pictures. So that's why I'm telling you, if you're not sure about what size motherboard the case will accommodate, you'd need 7 in order to have an ATX, full-size ATX board. So the problem is MSI offers this board as a full-size ATX, not just micro ATX. But I couldn't find a case. So I'm like, well, what good is ordering the full-size ATX? And again, they have one for Intel and one for AMD in full ATX, and one for Intel and one for AMD in micro ATX. But when it comes to cases, they seem to only have the micro ATX cases in white or black. And this is apparently what they look like. So they're a little wider so that you have a lot of room behind the board for all of those cables to go. Well, here's a diagram here. Mini ITX will obviously fit. Micro ATX, it's got the cutouts for the ports to pull shine through there. Then, of course, it's got your GPU slot here or PCIe slot and a shroud over the power supply that doesn't go across the entire bottom of the case, which is an interesting choice. And that way you can fit a bigger all-in-one cooler there. And let's see, what else do we have down here? It's tops, and basically it's telling you all the fans that are in white. Those are 140 millimeter fans. Nothing's in white. That doesn't seem right. It looks like it's trying to tell us
140's on the top. Oh,
No, it's showing they're all yellow.
yellow. Yeah.
So that's indicating they're all 120
20s.
millimeter. So what's the point of this 140 if you don't have any room for it? We'll verify that when we get the case out. Then there's apparently a fan controller hub on here that's located, looks like behind the board. We'll take a look. These panels come off. No idea what they're trying to tell us in this photo.
Did you get white or black?
White.
White.
Because the board is white.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I suppose the board's white and black. Right?
Okay.
So I guess either one would have worked, but I went with white.
Okay.
And they had white or black available, but again, only in the micro ATX side of things. Which processor did I pick? I went with the Ryzen5 7600. We've already built a $15,000 server we repaired. We've got a 14900K we built. We got the MSI Meg motherboard that we got on sale. These are all big beasts, and it's draining every penny I have, and then some. So I needed to go a little bit more conservative on this build. So $200, there's a Ryzen 5. It's a 6-core, 12-thread. I'm hoping it comes with a cooler, but if it doesn't, we'll figure that out. I've got coolers, but I'm hoping, I don't know. This is only my second time using the new Zen 4, is it called? See, I'm not even up with this whole thing here. It's the new AM4 socket.
You got coolers. Are you talking about wine coolers? No.
Wine cooler? What are you, Bartles and James?
Yeah.
That beard's having an effect on you.
I'm going in the Wayback Machine.
Then for RAM, I've got the OLOy Blade RAM. That's RGB. That looks really sharp. It's in black. That way, I think it'll go contrast with the white really well. And we're going to do 32 gigs, 2 sticks of 16. It's very aggressively priced. And I've had very good luck with this company, despite they have a website, OLOymemory.com, but they don't seem to have a Twitter presence. So I don't know what's up with that. It's good value. I've had very good experience with this RAM. Now, I did something very different for the power supply. I was looking for an inexpensive white power supply to match the white case. And I saw this Apevia. Is that how you say that? Apevia? And that's a 600-watt power supply because I plan on using onboard video. And if I was going to put a video card in this, I would probably go with a lower end, something that didn't require more than 600 watts, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I really don't want to put a graphics card in it at all. Again, I'm trying to keep my price down. I'm not a gamer. I don't need that. And the price, it's a very good price for a 600-watt power supply. If it's any good, I've never used this brand before, but the reviews on it seemed pretty decent. I mean, not the best, not the worst. So, you know, if most people were happy with it, I'm hoping that we'll be most people. If not, I'm a tech and a reviewer. And if there's anything bad to know about it, from my experience, I'll share that with you, or we'll share it together. And then over here, this is the SKhynixPlatinum P41. It's one of the highest rated Gen 4 M.2 drives you could buy, right up there with Samsung's 990 and Western Digital's SN850X, but a much more welcoming price point, I suppose you'd say. So at $159.99, it's a great deal. And it does not come with a heatsink, this version, but that motherboard already has all those heatsinks. And we always want to use a motherboard heatsink before we go using any third-party heatsinks, because it's going to look better and it's actually going to cool better. Finally, what's this last one? Oh, so I think these are a complete waste of money, by the way. And I will do a video to confirm my suspicion, but they're kind of fun and they look neat. Even though once we put the cooler on it, you're never going to see it. I also never changed the CPU out. Not that you couldn't, it just, you know, instead of using a lever to lift the CPU out, now we're going to use screws. And supposedly this helps with the cooling. But again, I just think it looks really nice as a builder. And they're like $8 or something. They're very inexpensive. And it's called a contact frame. And they make them primarily for Intel chips because they're rectangular instead of, say, these Ryzen chips, which are square. So this the frame comes off. If you haven't watched me do this before, there's 4 screws. that whole top comes off, silver square here. And then this fits over the CPU, and then you screw it down. And it gives supposedly gives the heatsink much more surface area and prevents any sort of warpage that can occur over time with extreme heat. Overkill for us today, but for $8, I'll do it.
Looks nice.
It looks, yeah, I really like the looks of it. And they give you a little screwdriver or Allen wrench for that, as well as some thermal paste, which we'll use our own thermal compound. Or if the CPU comes with a cooler, it'll already have a compound pre-applied. Okay, so that's our parts for today. All the parts are listed in the video notes below this video with links, the very links I'm showing you. And of course, prices are subject to change. Today is the 19th of January, 2024. If you're watching this video in 2027, these parts may not be available, or every motherboard may all have connectors in the back, or this was just a fad that didn't catch on. So bear that in mind, that these videos, when you're watching videos on YouTube, they can go back 16 years at this point. So pay attention to when you're watching a video to when it was published. The date is always right below the video itself, the publication date. I've seen people leaving comments on videos that I published years ago, and I guess they don't realize they're watching old content. So Frankie B with $9.99 says, good to see you guys. Mitch, you look great.
Go get your phone. It's pinging, driving me.
Is my phone beeping?
It's pinging, driving me insane.
I guess I didn't silence it before the show. I think some
Like
people are sending me gift
did,
cards.
so I silenced mine.
Let's see. Are we getting gift cards? Let's take a look. Oh, Luke Greenia sends $25 via PayPal. How cool is that? Thank you, Luke, as always. And Leibowitz IT Services, I don't know who that is, sends $31 via PayPal, says 31 years ago, SpinRite creator Steve Gibson, then writing his Tech Talk column in InfoWorld magazine, called out video card manufacturers collectively for writing drivers intended to cheat on benchmarks.
Yeah, is that Mark? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
That's Mark in the chat room. Last week, Carey, you called out current trade rags in general and Windows Central in particular for sloppy reporting. I've been wanting to do that for years now, but I didn't have the platform. Thanks for being brave enough to always tell it like it is, Carey. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you so much. I don't know if it's being brave. I was... You guys never had the opportunity to meet my mother. But let me just put it to you this way. When I was growing up, so kids would say, your mama this or your mama that. And I noticed that when they did that, the other kid would get really, really upset. Don't you talk about my mom. And I never really understood it. Like, why? Who cares? Like, my opinion was, go say that to my mom's face. I dare you. Right? Like, it didn't bother me. Your mom wears combat boots. Go tell her that. And then let me watch. Let me watch what happens. I never felt the need to defend my mother. She is a tough lady, and she always told it like it was. She did not believe in lying. And I'm like, wouldn't you lie to save somebody's feelings? No. Jeez, Mom. Wouldn't you lie if you, I don't know. There's a song by Depeche Mode called The Policy of Truth, where I played it for my mom. I go, Mom, what do you think of this? Where basically the lyrics are, you believe in a policy of truth, and now you think your punishment is unfair. Well, that's what you get for sticking to your policy of truth, right? And she goes, no, I don't agree with that song. Your punishment is your punishment. It's what you deserve. Jeez. So anyway, my mother was very, very morally strict, not religious really, but just this very strong sense of right and wrong. And yeah, like if you needed a shower, she, you need to go wash something. She'd just say like it was. Hey, Mom, you know what happened at school today? I'm not interested. You make a better door than a window. So stop blocking the TV, So sounds not like the most pleasant person, but I assure you it was all done in love. And, she's around the kids every single day. And enough is enough, I think, is kind of the message there. But nonetheless, obviously it's had an effect on me. And I don't really think about it as being brave. I think about it as righting a wrong or bringing awareness to what I feel is an injustice, especially if it's a bullying situation where the victim cannot really defend themselves. I was that victim at one point for a long time and then decided to turn things around because I couldn't rely on the kindness of others to step in and help me. If I wasn't going to defend myself, nobody was going to defend me. And as a result, it was kind of tough, right? It's a brutal way to sort of wake up and realize you're on your own. So if you don't do it, it ain't going to get done. And if you want to have some success in life, especially as an adult, you're going to be competing against other adults in whatever your career choice is, or, you know, even sporting events, you know, well, not events, but things that you might engage in are naturally competitive, but you're going to be competitive in the workspace. You're going to have people throw you under the bus and things like that. You've got to be able to defend yourself. That's my conclusion. And so I felt that this was a great injustice to Ace Magic, and the language barrier and the reach that they have, just they weren't going to really be able to properly defend themselves, in my opinion. They did, but the way that they did it, it probably didn't get many views. So I was doing my part to convey the message they put out, their acknowledgement of the mistake, and that it wasn't a virus, it's a browser hijacker. It's still bad, okay, but it's not as bad as they made it. So in any event, I appreciate your support, your kindness, and as long as, you know, we can continue here to be, you know, not beholden to a particular manufacturer, we're free to speak our mind. And it's, the internet is an interesting place, because if I call somebody out, they say, yeah, you go get them. But if I praise somebody, oh, you're a sellout. So God forbid I have my own positive opinion of a company or a product, a service. That must be because I'm biased. Well, no. As much as I will mention things I don't like, I think it's also important to mention things I do like. And it's just like, let's say Mitch and I go out to eat, whatever, after the show. Most of the time when we get service, it's good. It's nothing special. It's not terrible. It's not great. And so when it comes to the tip, I leave a tip. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's just average. But every once in a while, we'll go somewhere and the service is outstanding, and I'll double the tip, right? So as much as if the service was terrible, I'd want to, you know, maybe talk to a manager or leave a 1-star review and warn other people, don't get burned over here. I was burned over here. When everything is just kind of down the middle, there's nothing to talk about. It's exactly what was expected, nothing less, nothing more. If there's an extreme on the bad side or an extreme on the good side, I want to call that out. And just because I call out the good doesn't mean there was anything in it for me. So those people online that have made these accusations, I'm glad I don't live with their mentality that anything good must be fake and that everything that's bad must be real. That's a terrible way to go through life with an attitude like that. And, you know, somebody will say, well, you're clearly biased and I'm done watching you. I'm like, well, thank God you're gone. I thought you were good. I thought you were never going to leave. I don't want people like that in my community. Good riddance to you. So in any event, there wasn't just 2 or 3 people, but I don't even know who they are. They're not supporters. They're not contributors. They're not kind. They're not courteous. And they had no reason to attack me, right? It doesn't make any sense. So in any event, we're glad they're gone. Now we have all these amazing people remaining, and I thank you all for being a part of this amazing community. And I thank you for your contributions, your support, and your membership.
Carey, before the show, let me pick up that motherboard box.
Not this one.
Not that one?
No.
Oh.
No, that's the Meg.
Oh, okay.
I showed Mitch
It's going to
that
do some
$600 motherboard.
Going to do some curls. I'm like, oh
you and I will build with that probably in 2 or 3 weeks. I still have to decide the rest of the parts. Okay. But the box, how heavy would you say that box is? 6 pounds?
I was guessing 7 or 8.
8 pounds?
Yeah.
I don't know, but you certainly get
so
something for your money.
Yeah, so used to motherboards, just, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's, he's like,
feel this, Mitch. Here you go. That's the MSI Meg.
Okay.
The Z690 Ace, those came in. We got a great deal on them, $200 a piece instead of $550 a piece.
Okay.
And I ordered a 14900K. Another reason why we're not going big on this one, because it would be a shame to put anything less than that in this amazing motherboard, this expensive motherboard, regardless if it's amazing.
Okay.
And I still have to figure out everything else: case, power supply, RAM, solid state drive, cooler. I haven't figured that out yet, but we have a few weeks. Today, we're working on projectzero. Nothing too heavy here. In fact, this is micro ATX, so compare them. Pick this one up and tell me how it it's actually kind of chunky.
Yeah, that's at least 4 to 5 pounds. You know,
Yeah, maybe half the weight.
yeah. All right, let's do this.
All right, I'll tell you what, we are not going to need the power supply for a few minutes, so let's set this aside. I'm not exactly sure how we are going to test this board without putting it in the case. You know, if we have the board sitting upright and all the connectors are underneath of it,
Right, you'd have to.
once we prep it, we might have to put it in the case before we can test fire.
Right.
We've never done this before. This is a brand new design.
Okay.
Let me move this out of the way. I'll just put it in the other room. And then let's move this stuff over here. And I'll tell you what, I'll be the camera girl.
Okay.
Got to come up with another name for that. And we'll have you unbox it while I film it. How's that?
I can't stand the pressure.
Look at you, Kane.
Yeah.
Telling you, that Kane's coming. All right. So let me, I suppose I need to plug the camera in. It's probably, it's not wireless, you know.
Right.
I got to
Yeah.
plug a cable in there.
And then you gotta switch things or show me, you know, click on the eyeball or you know what I'm talking about.
Click on the eyeball.
Very technical.
Mitch, the director.
Yeah.
The technical
Yeah.
director.
And when you're directing me, don't say action.
Don't say action?
I don't. It's you know, camera's rolling, sound is rolling. Go when you're ready. I don't like action.
Now.
Yeah, that bothers me. Yeah. Just go when
These
you're ready.
damn actors
Yeah.
are so difficult to work with. I don't like camera ready. I'll tell you what I can't stand.
Makeup.
Everybody in the industry, if you ever get the experience of going out to being part of a film production or television production, it's Roger that. Roger that.
Right.
What did I get into the military somehow? Why?
Right.
Just say okay or
Yeah.
gotcha, got it, understood.
Yeah.
Roger that. All right. What is down here? What is this?
Oh, and Chad, someone will do your Uncle Mitch a solid. If you're new to the show and you want to see some acting clips of mine, you go to imdb.com, short for Internet Movie Database, and you just type in Mitch Morrison, and my page will come up with headshots and a couple of video clips, and there you go.
Hey, there's Patrick Kennedy joining us. He says, this is so cool. You know who Patrick Kennedy is.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome in, Patrick. It's always good to see you, my friend. Is he a moderator in here? Yes, good.
Good.
Patrick over at the web, both the website and YouTube channel serve the home. And great content there, mostly focused on business stuff, but there's some mini PC crossover and networking crossover that you guys, a lot of home users would find quite useful. He's a very fast talker.
I mean, in another life, I think he was an auctioneer myself.
He's not fooling around.
Yeah.
He's going to give you the information.
Right.
There's no fluff like my channel.
It's fast.
In the 46 minutes you and I have been just doing monologue,
it's fast and
he's
furious.
had 2 videos done.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right. Good to see you,
go.
Patrick. And welcome in, my friend.
Yeah.
What am I missing? I just want to hit the chat here real quick.
Okay.
There's Sherry McFarland joining us and Douglas Burchell. And Alan Lindes joins us. Lives down the street, about an hour and a half away, Casa Grande. Marco Leibowitz, there he is. He says, your mother sounds like a very wise woman. Yeah, well, like I said, you wouldn't want to tell her she wasn't. She'll make sure you understand. What else? Martin Wolfert's with a $5 contribution. Says, happy Friday, everybody. Oh, it's Friday. Happy Friday.
Yep.
projectzero, a stroke of genius or a solution searching for a problem?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's going to be up to each of you to decide.
Yeah.
Okay, well, go back over here.
By the way, Uncle Carey, that Chad, both Carey and I are from Michigan, and believe it or not, yesterday was official Michigan Day. Did not know that until today, so I missed it. But I'm like, I saw that on the internet. I'm like,
What does that even mean?
I don't know, but it was official Michigan Day. I'm like, okay.
Are the Lions still doing well? They were doing really, really well. I haven't watched any football in a while, so guess I'm asking the wrong guy.
Yeah.
All right, let's stick to what we know, and it ain't sports.
Yeah. Here we go.
Close up, camera.
Camera rolling.
Not action.
Speed. Yeah, not action. Go when you're ready. Okay.
Okay. Now, we have done no rehearsal. What a shock.
Yeah.
No one could have guessed. We've read no directions. We've never done this before. Okay, so we're going to share a first-time experience with you guys.
And here we go.
Whenever you're ready.
Oh,
Is that what you want me to say?
Yeah.
On your time.
Yeah. Here we have a box. Okay.
This is just riveting video.
Yeah. Now what's in
I thought that board looked like
Well, we can do take two. Oh no, this is live. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll still do it anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Just set that board down for a second. On your time. No worries, no pressure.
No pressure.
There's only 10 million people watching.
Okay.
I wish.
All right.
Take that. Wait. No.
Yeah.
We're not done with the box.
Okay.
Take that top piece of cardboard and just set it down somewhere and throw it. What do we got in there?
We have
Oh yeah, European regulatory notices. That's a page turner.
note Wi-Fi
Oh, antennas. Yeah.
antennas,
Some SATA cables.
SATA cables,
Do we have Go Faster stickers?
an installation guide,
Okay.
and stickers.
All right, so we got stickers. Well, then it was worth every penny.
3D. Okay. Okay.
Unnecessary
Yeah,
zoom.
yeah. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So nothing
Too
surprising.
surprising.
Yeah.
Going to build on the box. Nice.
Yeah, I wonder how building on the box is going to be with the connectors behind the board.
Oh yeah. Now this one is sealed. Sometimes they don't come,
Well,
but
if they didn't put tape on it, that motherboard would go boom right through that bag.
but I'm very impressed. Okay.
Lord knows what would happen if you didn't put tape on the back of the bag. That motherboard would escape.
Now
Set the board down normally, first of all. All right. What's missing? You should know the answer if you're paying attention.
yeah, all the I don't want to get technical on you. The inputs, yeah.
Well, they're not always inputs, they're
Yeah,
outputs too.
yeah.
But yeah, the I/O connectors, power connectors. How about we just say connectors? They're all gone. Turn the board over. Let's see if it's a boy or a girl.
Okay. Steady now. Ooh,
Now, there's something we've never seen
before.
Now, do you want to tell me what all these connectors are? Let's see how well Mitch does.
Yeah. Power. Two SATAs.
You
SATAs.
skipped one.
SATAs. Just B4. I don't know what that connector. What's that connector?
That's our USB
Okay.
3.1 front panel connector for the USB Type-C if your
Okay.
case supports it.
3.0 says right there. Or two SATAs.
Yeah, you can often read right on the board.
Is that a fan?
No, that's not a fan. Fan would only have three or four pins. That has
Okay.
way more than that.
You
Want to guess again?
Water block? I don't.
No, that
Okay.
water block would only need 3 or 4 fans like a pin, like a fan.
So how many? 2, 4, 6.
Are there
8,
any
9?
words around it?
No, just JFP1. Whatever that means.
What's next to that?
2 SATAs.
Very good. What's next to that?
JFP2.
That's probably... You know what? I don't know what that is. That looks like it could be... I was going to say RGB. I don't know what that is. What else we got?
USBs. So UCB.
USB.
I don't know.
Does that say USB?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it says USB
speed.
right down inside
Yeah,
it.
it's that,
So
yeah.
that's our USB 2 for anything we've got on the case.
What's this little doodad next to it? I'm kind of curious. Here,
You know what? I need my glasses because
Yeah.
this is all just a big blur. I mean, the camera does so much for me.
One set of glasses.
Thank you very much. I'm going to bring my glasses and my shoes.
What is that? That's kind of
That's
weird.
a jumper for something. We'll have to look at the manual for once, I suppose. What's next to that? What's this connector?
Well, that's got to be fans.
That's correct.
Yeah, fans.
This is going to be what?
I don't know.
There's only one connector that has a tooth missing like that. There's only 3. That's going to be your ARGB.
Okay.
And it says JRGB if the camera would focus.
Okay.
Then over here, there's a 5-pin. I don't know what this 5-pin is right here.
Okay.
It says JT1. Then over here, we have another JRGB.
Mm-hmm.
And over here, it says JAUD. That's going to be your audio, your front port
Okay.
audio. That always has a tooth missing either on the
Okay.
bottom row or top row, second from the end. Which,
Mm.
if you can see, this damn camera.
And then, of course, our CPU. Or is that our GPU?
That's going to, no, the GPU connector would be on the GPU. So that's going to be what we call EPS power or CPU power.
Okay.
And we have 2 of those, and it actually says CPU power. If you read the writing right on the board, what does that one say?
JARGB
So that's a third RGB for your RGB lights.
V23.
And then over here, we've got,
Fan 1, fan 2, fan 3.
well, it says system fan 1,
Oh, system.
pump fan 1, CPU fan.
fan.
So it's not fair to ask Mitch because he's standing on the other side and
Yeah.
kind of blocking the words there. But then it would be rude to you guys if we turned it
Yeah.
the other way. And then what are these? JBAT, so probably for the battery. Maybe clearing the CMOS. I don't know what that is. I bet you Patrick Kennedy's watching this laughing going, how can these guys not know what that is? This is all child's play to
Yes,
that man.
yes. Well, that man's a genius. All right, so.
Well, let's not go that far.
Okay.
You could say rock
Yeah,
star.
okay. Now here's our I/O. Is it backwards? Let me.
But yeah, let's go ahead and turn the board back around. Let's give it some humility and a little modesty. And then turn that around. And this will be exactly as we showed it from the website. We've got a flash BIOS. This is particularly helpful if you say you buy a CPU that the BIOS doesn't recognize.
Mhm.
Say the board was made 6 months ago and your CPU just got introduced and you had to be the first to have it. The board has no idea what it is. So you have to update the BIOS for it to recognize. And if you don't have this kind of feature, what you have to do is grab an old CPU and then boot with an old CPU, then flash the BIOS, then put the new CPU in. Well, who's got old CPUs laying around that are compatible? Not most of us. So with this option here, you can flash the BIOS without it. Typically, and this board may be different, but in the past, the way this works is you have to use a small flash drive. You download the latest BIOS. It has to be named a certain name. Typically, the flash drive has to be formatted like FAT32. Like if it's NTFS, a lot of boards won't recognize it. And say you don't have all we need to have on this is power and nothing else.
Mhm.
And we put the flash drive in with that specially named BIOS in this slot. And then we hold that button in, flash BIOS button, for a few seconds. And then we typically get some kind of a light that flashes.
Mm.
Now, this is a much slower way to flash a BIOS, but if it's all you got, even if it takes 10 minutes instead of 3 minutes,
Yep.
just do it once. And then it should recognize your new CPU. No, our CPU is not that new. Well, it kind of is. It's a 7600. But I would assume that this is going to see it okay. But just in case it doesn't, we could show that feature. I suppose we could show that feature off anyway. Well, we've got it. Why not? Let's do it. Let's do that. Let's do that first before we do anything else.
Okay.
Before we add anything else, we'll put power to the board. We'll go to the MSI site. We'll download the latest version of BIOS, not knowing what we have now.
Okay.
Okay, we have no idea.
Yep.
The only way we're going to know is if we put CPU, RAM, and boot it up. But I think we should be able to do this without a CPU or RAM, just a power supply and our flash drive.
If you say so.
I think so.
Okay.
That's how it works with Asus. So
Okay.
I think MSI is probably the same. If not, well, it's a live video and you know, mud in my eye.
There you go.
All right, so let me go back over to camera 1. Get a twist in my neck.
Don't hurt yourself. All right. And
There it is.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. There you go.
Picture in picture.
You're up. Put it up in the corner.
Yeah.
This is our picture-in-picture solution here.
Yes. All right.
We're trying to save money.
Yeah.
All right, let me turn this off and save the battery. We're probably going to want some close-ups later and maybe sell a little no-dos on the merch site.
Yeah.
Not no-dos. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No-dos and what's the stuff to keep you from getting seasick?
Dramamine.
Dramamine and no-dos, branded with my logo.
Yeah.
I'll probably sell out.
I never get seasick as long as I can see a shoreline. Now, if I've never been way out where I can't see a shoreline, but as long as I can see a shoreline, doesn't matter what that boat's doing. If that's level.
Well, if you can see a
all right.
shoreline, you're barely away. You're not
That's
far
true.
enough out.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever felt the motion of seasickness, I think one time I was on a whale watch and the waves got
Okay.
really heavy.
Yeah.
But normally,
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I'm a roller coaster kind of guy, so
Yeah.
you know, bring it on. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So we got to switch because you need a flash drive.
Well, what do we want to do first? Yeah, I suppose we need to get the latest BIOS. So let's see how to do this now. Let's go to see if I missed anything in the chat here. Hey, there's Bob R joining us. Good to see you, Bob. Katrina H in the chat room, and there's Danielle Emberley joining us. Les Stevenson, Matthew Burton. Welcome in, guys. Steve Mercure. Bob R has been a member now for 20 months. That's amazing.
Yep.
Says he's still watching. Thank you, Bob. And David Grant with a $2. Says, did you just find your lost screw? That's exactly what was on the ground. Was a small, just a black case screw, pretty common. And it's a little message here. What am I supposed to do with that? No. What did I just do? I didn't mean to do that to Patrick. No, that's not what I wanted to do.
Did you put him in timeout?
No, I removed his message. It says celebrate his first super chat on a live stream, and I click it. And then I went to click away from the options, which are, you know, all the like punishment options. And I accidentally hit remove. And I thought, oh no, I hope I didn't remove him. But it looks like it just removed his message.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Patrick. It's not the first time I've made a mistake live.
We're
but
professionals here. All right.
yeah.
Yeah.
PROFETCHAL. Vegetal.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fine. I tuned out 10 minutes ago. No, he's still in there. All right. Stealth Mode is now a member for 20 months as well. Says he's glad Mitch likes the beard.
I'm glad you like it because I do not.
But that's not what he says. He says, get you some of that, I guess. GTSY.
Yeah.
Get good. What's GTSY?
Gutsy? I don't know.
GTSY.
Good to say yes.
Good to see you, Mitch.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the beard.
All right.
These kids and their letters.
Yeah.
Ian Gooch with a 10-pound contribution says, hey, Carey, Mitch, good to see you both. Back building together. He's watching us from London.
Love that town. Loved it.
I wouldn't know. I've never been.
Loved it when I visited.
There we go. People are saying good to see you.
Yeah.
I think we got there, but thank you. And thank you, Ian.
Yeah.
All right. So power supply. I'm not going to. Should I open that new power supply? I guess we'll open it.
Yeah.
And even after I just moved it to the other room.
Chad, it took me a
Don't
long
worry, we
time
can-
to where people were talking about goat. And I swear to you, I thought what a goat. And they're like, you don't know what goat means? Yeah, it's an animal. They're like, no, you bone. It's greatest of all time. Well, why didn't you say that?
Yeah. Why didn't you just say it?
Why didn't you just say it? You know,
There's
everything.
a haircut place called Goat Haircuts.
Right.
And you think, well, who needs to get their goat a haircut?
Right.
But
Right.
there you go. Letting your age
Yeah.
slip out there. Now this power supply doesn't have a lot of connectors. here on the back. And they used unbreakable tape apparently, so
Here, muscles. All
let me
right.
grab this. Where's my skizzers?
Skizzer.
I'll fix this once and for all.
No Wheaties this morning? Okay.
Cookie Crisp.
All right. Better than grape nuts.
The hardest substance on earth.
Break your teeth. All right.
All right, so let me go back over here. Okay, so this is what the power supply looks like. Pretty anemic on the connectors on the back, but it is
600 watts of, what does it say? Essence power. You'll have to turn it around.
solar powered.
Focus,
No.
yeah.
So we just have what looks like a 1 graphics card connector power, and then 3 regular connectors for drives, and then Essence. Sounds like a perfume.
Yes.
Definitely not.
And it's very powerful, yeah.
Other than that, looks like a pretty regular, ordinary, everyday. Don't see anything special. Oh my gosh. It's not auto sensing. It has the old switch from 1997 to pick between 110 and 220 watts.
Okay.
Well, now I know why it was $42.
Okay.
All right. So right there,
Yeah.
can't recommend this power supply, folks. That's,
What's it on? 120?
you think I can read that tiny writing?
Okay.
I'm assuming it's on 110.
Okay.
However,
This will be the small
I
test.
haven't seen, hey Patrick, when's the last time you seen a switch on the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, that says 110.
Okay.
All right. Well, there you go.
Smoke test. All right. Real smoke test.
$42. That's
Okay.
why it wasn't 80. It was half price because it's probably not 80 plus certified either. Now, and I kind of made it a rule only to buy 80 plus certified power supplies regardless of the wattage. I broke my own rule on this one apparently and was won over by the price. Shame on me. I shouldn't have done that. However, that kind of tells you where we are financially on the channel, that we're just trying to get you so much content with a tight budget. I'm going to put that in there.
Okay.
With a tight budget. And so, I could build one thing and then not do anything else for a week. Or I can, this is not up to my normal standard, but this is also a board that we're building for the channel. There's no customer that this is going to. I'll try and find a customer for it unless I keep it myself. So we've got our cables, we've got our power, and we have some big thumb screws instead of the regular case screws, which is weird.
But you've got blacks, plenty of
Yeah,
blacks.
I got a bunch of. You buy them on a bulk on Amazon. So, okay. So the rest of this, don't need that, and just get this out of the way. And let's just take a look at how we're going to do this. It's going to be a little weird having some connectors under the board while we're.
You want me to unwrap these?
Yeah, go ahead and unwrap them, and then let's see what we got here. Oh, you know what? No, don't unwrap those. We shouldn't need those yet.
Okay.
Because this is a semi-modular power supply, meaning these connectors are optional. These are not. Every motherboard needs power and CPU power, and those are the two that don't come off because you have to use these regardless of what you're building. So flip this over here. See how this goes. We'll probably just have to keep it upside down.
It's kind of weird,
It is weird.
It's kind of weird, but I like it, So
Also, the clips usually go towards the edge of the board, the outside edge, but the clips here are going to go on the inside, and that's probably an effect of inverting when they flip it over.
Not too much pressure.
Well, yeah, that's another challenge, right? So really, this should go in the case first.
I didn't hear the click.
No, it's not all the way seated. Is there anything we can break? I think we're okay. We've got heat sink in this big I/O cover, so I think we can push down on it safely. And then, I didn't hear that click either, but it looks like it's fairly well seated there.
You usually give a little tug test too. It seems. I just thought I heard something.
And then I don't think it matters which one of these we use, and these connectors, oddly, face the edge of the board. They're the exact opposite.
Okay.
I don't like that lack of consistency. Okay, now, let me turn this way.
Okay.
Let's turn this way. Let's go over to the MSI website. So what I do is I'll go to Google, and in Google I will type B550M. projectzero. That's the name of the case, or that's the name of our motherboard, project zero, and BIOS. And the first link that Google search engine provides us takes us to MicroStar International's homepage, where I can now share the screen with you. Screen capture, screen. Here's my screen. Window capture. That'll do. And this is the landing page here at MSI talking about this board. 6 layers of circuit board, 2 ounces of thickened copper, pump fan support, back connect design. Probably should have did this earlier, looked at all this stuff, but there you go. You can go check it out. What we want is we want to go to the support side of things here. Now, typically, MSI, ASRock, ASUS, Gigabyte, they have 2 different support options. They'll have one at the top of the page. Now, this one is just generic support for MSI products. And then they'll have another support that's down on the product itself that is support specific to this product. That's what we want to find the latest BIOS. So under drivers and downloads, it says how to flash the BIOS, SOP download, YouTube, MSI, how to use mFlash. We suggest using Chrome or Edge browser to download BIOS. It doesn't matter. So the latest BIOS, again, we don't know what we have, but it was just a month, not even a month ago. It's just a couple of weeks ago. So it's a good chance we don't have whatever this is. Except the board was just released, so maybe we do. But, oh, that's a beta BIOS, though. So is that one.
Never mind.
So, okay. Well, apparently this board's been out longer than I say, because this goes back to March. Huh. So we scroll up, scroll up. Well, look at all the beta versions here. 1.5.3's beta, and then they never finalized it before 1.6.1 came out as a beta. What's before that? Version 13 or 1.3, depending on how you want to read that. Does it improve DDR5 memory compatibility? Something about mitigating a security issue, more with memory compatibility. The S3 issue, that's like waking it up after it goes to sleep stuff. System compatibility when the Expo function is enabled. Yeah, we see those BIOS updates all the time for that compatibility correction. Well, this is a puzzle. We should not have a beta BIOS on here, so downloading the beta BIOS is typically not something you would want to do at home. But I'm a technician, and these beta BIOSes wouldn't be released if they didn't think they were candidates for public release, but for boilerplate disclosure and disclaimer, they'll say, you know, don't do this unless you need to. So I don't know the way this board is right now, if it will recognize our chip. But I also want to demonstrate how this ability to flash the BIOS without a chip works, because not too many boards have this feature.
Okay.
And we've shown it on ASUS twice before in the past, but it's been a while. So let me take a look at what's in that zip file. I have to go to my downloads directory here on the streaming computer, extract this zip file here locally to the streaming computer. You obviously need another computer to do this part. And inside, we just have a text file and a BIOS file. Now, in order to learn how to use this particular BIOS feature, we will not be using mFlash. So mFlash is when you're going into the BIOS. It's called mFlash right in the BIOS, and that's typically how we show how we do our stuff here. So what we want is manual. Yeah, I'm going to go to the manual. Write it down on the calendar. It happened.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's only one to choose from. So sometimes you'll see 6 or 7 from some manufacturers or some makes of boards, models of boards that, you know, sometimes it's just about the BIOS, other times it's different languages. So this one's got multiple languages altogether in one fell swoop. Good for them. Now, in this contents here, make that bigger so Zach can see it. what does it say about, it's a safe boot jumper. So that's, remember all those letters we didn't know next to the pins?
Gotcha.
That's an explanation here.
Mm.
So that JBAT1, if you shorted that out, that would clear the BIOS.
Oh.
There's also a clear BIOS button on the back of the board. So this is the old school way to do it. And again, this JC1 connector was a chassis intrusion.
Okay.
So if somebody opens the panel up and you've got that hooked up, obviously you need to have a case that supports that. Let's see. BIOS.
It'll say
updating. Yeah. You didn't say the magic word.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
no, no.
The Jurassic Park reference
Yes.
to Linux. That's how you use Linux. Okay, let's look at, well, I got to keep it in English. It said page 51. See any page? Still not in English. Like how?
Hieroglyphics. All right, yeah.
What are they? Hydroglyphics?
Hydroglyphics.
So they're created by
Water, yeah.
How to check BIOS mode, BIOS setup, BIOS user guide, updating the BIOS with mFlash. Well, read the screen.
Pretty small.
Mention having a switch for two different BIOSes, the switch between them like a second gas tank. It says skip this step if your motherboard doesn't have that. I didn't see that on the
No.
board. Update the BIOS with MSI Center. Updating the BIOS with the Flash BIOS button. Download the latest BIOS. Okay, we just did that. Rename the files to msi.rom and save it to the root of a USB storage device. Now, they don't specify if the USB storage device needs a format like FAT32, exFAT, regular FAT, or NTFS. They don't, maybe it doesn't matter, but we're going to use a small flash drive. So the first thing I need to do is rename the BIOS file, which out of the zip file, look, I've seen where ASUS has a little program called BIOS Renamer, and I've seen people on YouTube say, in order to update your ASUS BIOS, you have to use the BIOS Renamer and change it. No, you don't. That's only if you're going to do it this way with no CPU and no RAM. Otherwise, you don't need to use the BIOS Renamer. MSI doesn't give us one. They believe that we're smart enough that we can figure out how to type in msi.rom.
This seems much too complicated for me. I'm just saying.
Well, that's why I'm doing it.
Good.
All right, MSI-ROM. It says we're changing the extension. Are you sure? Yes.
Indubitably. All right.
All right. Now, in the drawer in front of you
Okay.
are a metric ton of flash drives. We'll just grab one of these small 2 gig drives. They cost me all of $2.50 each, and they're great for BIOS flashing or making like MemTest 86 boot disks or Acronis Rescue disks. And we have to, let me step around because I got to plug this into the streamer and copy the file over onto this flash drive. And I believe these are all formatted FAT32, so we should be good there. And I close the window? No, I didn't. Right click on the file and choose copy. So I realize you guys are just seeing you're not seeing the open Explorer windows here. So that's why I'm giving you a play-by-play. Then right click and paste. It's a pretty small file. It's only going to take just a second here. We're looking at a file size of 32 megs. Actually pretty big for a BIOS. Check that flash drive. Okay, now I can go back to camera 1. Wait, let me finish reading. Connect the power supply up to CPU power 1. Oh, it does matter which of those.
Okay.
Gotta make sure we're in 1.
1.
Wait, give me my glasses and let me see. Did I plug it into 1? No, of course not. I plugged it into 2. So we'll move that. Didn't use the magic word. Plug the USB storage device that contains the msi.rom file into the Flash BIOS port on the rear I/O panel. Press the Flash BIOS button to flash BIOS, and the LED starts flashing. The LED will be turned off when the process is completed. Got that?
There'll be a test later.
Yeah, bring a number 2 pencil.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to camera 1.
Don't. They stink because they're a number 2. You get it? Just saying. All right. Sharp as a bowling ball today. All right.
Yeah. Is that your dad joke for today, or did you have something else?
I've got nothing.
I'll say.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to move this plug over to CPU power 1. I had a 50-50 chance. This is why I don't gamble.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm just not good at it. And then, you know, we're facing the camera over there.
So
This is the...
You step around.
Yep. We're going to plug this into one of these. Which one was it?
You got your glasses. You can't even see.
Not
your
even with my glasses
glasses.
right here. It's
Okay.
very small.
Okay.
Very tiny.
Tiny.
Okay. Now, with all that done, you'll notice I've left power unplugged from the power supply, just so it doesn't accidentally turn on. We don't have a power switch or any other things hooked up, just power, no CPU, no RAM. And let's hope this doesn't explode.
Yeah. Let me give you the sound effect.
Thanks. And then with your teeny tiny doll-like fingers,
You need a.
you need a super
You need
teeny
a-
tiny.
You
We're
need
going
a.
to push the button in and hold it. Did it say how long to hold it? Okay.
No.
Now, it's important you use a flash drive.
Because the flash is flashing.
Well, but it's important to use a flash drive rather than an LED.
Right.
And back here, I don't know how well the camera's picking it up. Let me cut the lights. There is an LED on the other side of the board that's flashing right now.
You can.
And it's, I don't know if you can see it, but
Yeah.
it's right here.
Okay.
Now you can see it blinking on and off. When all this blinking stops, we're done. So there's a lot of faith involved in this process because you're assuming that as long as that light's blinking, and again, if you have a flash drive with no LED on it, that's
don't-
okay. You can use it. But as a technician, I like to know what's going on at all times. But with only having this one LED to rely on, you're going to wait for this LED on the motherboard to stop flashing, and that's how you know your hot pocket is ready.
Yeah.
No, that's how you know it's done. And again, this is a slower process than when we go in the BIOS. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe, I don't know, having a CPU and RAM speed things up. But this way, if you have a brand new CPU, and let's say you were to put the CPU into the board and the board says, I don't recognize any CPU, that's because your BIOS is out of date. And this is a particular issue specifically with AMD boards. This does happen with Intel, but not very often. Like if you have a 12th gen Intel board, it should be 14th gen compatible with a BIOS update. But if you don't have a 12th gen CPU to flash the BIOS, and you don't have this option, which most of the boards I use don't have, you're going to have to find an old CPU just to do the BIOS update. Once that's done, you're good for the rest of eternity as far as that goes. You can put your modern CPU in it, unless another new modern CPU comes out and you have to update the BIOS again. The developers don't have a crystal ball. So if the board came out before the CPU came out, and we didn't know because, you know, the companies don't tell you what's coming out. They tell you what's coming out soon, but not necessarily what's coming out next. So as a result, then they have to play catch up for compatibility.
Yeah, it's taking too long.
It's a process.
Yeah.
This is a process. And it's important you do not interrupt it as any other BIOS update. You want to absolutely be patient or you could brick the motherboard. So that's no joke. If you want it to be done right, take your time. I made a song about that, didn't I?
Yeah.
Take your time, do it right. I'm not singing. I wouldn't do that to you.
Thank you.
And just kind of looking and they're talking about coffee in the chat. I don't like coffee. You like coffee?
Love the smell, but
Yeah,
never
it smells
never
good.
drink it.
Tastes terrible. James Carter says the BIOS needs to be renamed to MSI.ROM. At least I did on my MSI board. Yeah, you are correct, sir. Ben Laird says every time I update the BIOS, I get a BitLocker warning. Yeah, so basically you don't want to update the BIOS on a board where you're using BitLocker. So it's just saying if you're using BitLocker on a a motherboard where you're updating the BIOS in a traditional way, that if you're using BitLocker and you update the BIOS, nothing on your hard drive will be accessible. So make sure you turn BitLocker off if you're using it. It's just a generic disclaimer. Doesn't matter. It's not telling you you are using it. It's warning you if you use it, turn it off before you update the BIOS. If you're like, I don't know what BitLocker is,
Never mind.
it probably doesn't apply to you, but you probably want to just make sure it's turned off.
This has been going at least 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's a slower, as I mentioned, this is a slower process. This is a 32 meg file. Some BIOSes back in the day were just 4 megs or 8 megs. Some were 16. So BIOSes are getting bigger and bigger. And such is the way of things. This fan isn't even turning on the power supply. I have to assume that that only turns on when it gets hot, or this is broken already. I imagine we're not drawing much power to do this. So again, without a CPU and without RAM. Okay, it's blinking real fast right now. See that?
Yeah.
So maybe that means, is it supposed to do that?
Your gamble is just, doing
This isn't a gamble. This is following the directions.
Yeah.
I'm just doing what the directions say. I'm not guessing.
Yeah.
So there should be no gamble unless you unplug it or interrupt it or pull the flash drive while it's in the middle of this. In which case, you might as well just give yourself a nice big kick in the nuts.
But we, doing it the other way, the old-fashioned way, we'd have been done and smoking a cigarette by now.
However, it's a vape.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but the point is, you may not be able to do it the old-fashioned way if that CPU isn't recognized by the BIOS.
That's right.
We don't have any choice.
Okay.
But we also don't educate our audience if we don't show them this, regardless if we needed this or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, let's pretend we did. So if you find yourself in the situation and you have a motherboard with that button, here's what that button is for, and here is when you would use it, and here is how you use it. That's the whole point of this example.
So you really think, had we not done this and put this on,
I don't know.
It might not have
There's no way for me to know.
recognized, and then people would
if it
freak
did
out.
work, then I'd have no reason to show this demo.
Yeah.
Right? So by me remaining ignorant and not knowing the answer to that, I'm not suggesting you do this unless you're teaching a class. You should plug your CPU in, and in a rare circumstance where it doesn't recognize your CPU, then and only then should you be doing this. We're doing it to show you how to do it, not because we need it. We don't know if we need it or not. But here's what I can tell you. If I've updated to the latest BIOS, I know for a fact I'm not going to need a new BIOS anymore.
Yep.
Like the what if goes away. So in other words, before we did this CPU may have been recognized or it may not. I don't know. But when we're done, I guarantee you that CPU will be recognized.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. So, and I'm not recommending you follow that advice. You should, because this is an uncommon procedure and it's less desirable because it does take longer and it's very precise. Which USB port you use, how you name the BIOS file, et cetera, et cetera. This should only be done if it's necessary. But if it's necessary and you've never seen anybody show you how to do it, you might be very nervous about it. So we're here to just give you this education in case you need it. And I'm also curious myself because I've never done this on an MSI. I've only done this on an ASUS board. I think I did it on a Gigabyte board once. But I don't get too many motherboards that have the BIOS update option. Now the MSI Meg, these boards that are super fancy, high-end, expensive boards will almost always have that. The cheaper the board is, the less expensive it is, the less likely you're going to have that feature. So just so you know, set your expectations accordingly. Most of you probably don't have a button on the back of your board for updating the BIOS. Unless most of you have some pretty nice computers, in which case I stand corrected. John Rogers says it's a time bomb. You know what?
It's nap.
Life is a time bomb.
It's nap time. Wake me up when it's it.
Mitch has got to take his 2:30 nap. He gets cranky. Burp him later.
Yeah.
So just looking in the chat if there's any.
I really like the boards like Uncle Carey. It's few and far between, but the kind where you can do it over the internet. Where you
Yeah,
know,
well, when it works.
when it works, but it's just so convenient. You go into BIOS and it says
You can't screw it up.
Yeah, and then the Ethernet reaches out to the company. Yes, here's the new one. Does it, and so yeah, you can see it definitely flashing.
So I'm not watching the red light so much
Right.
as the white one
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah, and you sure you named that right? MSI.
Oh, it wouldn't be working like this if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would already stop flashing. And
Yeah.
so the flashing light on the flash drive indicates that a read or a write is taking place.
Going on.
That's why I like seeing
Yeah.
that something is happening, that we're not locked up,
Mm-hmm.
and that everything is progressing as it should. Although that's what this light is for, right? They're
Yep.
assuming that you don't have a light here.
Yes.
And even if you did, just because that light stops flashing doesn't mean it's still not processing. And how is it processing without a CPU anyway? How does that work? I don't even know. It doesn't make any sense to me. But here we are, and we're doing it. So clearly this is a real thing. I suppose I could rotate this a little bit, maybe to see that white light a little better.
There you go.
I just don't want to unplug it while I'm moving
No.
it. You want a drink?
Agua.
Scotch?
Por favor. No,
Bourbon?
that smells like iodine. I'm not a shot guy.
Oh,
Really never have been. People,
I'll put
you know,
this.
can I buy a shot? And I'm like, no, I'm all
Just
about,
give me the $5.
Yeah. 5 for a shot. More
I don't
like
know. It's
9.
been a while
Yeah.
since I've been to a bar.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Water, please. Yeah.
Fiji?
Yeah, if you got it.
I
Yeah.
got one left.
It's
got your name on
be
it.
expensive. Yeah.
I refilled it from the toilet this morning.
All right. Then
It's
it
fresh.
then it ought to be filtered.
Might be a little bleachy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
Only the best
Yes.
for my crew. We're going to keep the light off in here until this is done, so you guys can watch me flashing. You don't want the lights on when I'm flashing you.
Yeah. Well, cheers.
Right on.
Ding.
All
Here's
right.
to
Friday.
well, it's Friday, and to reverse cable mounting.
Yeah.
I was trying to make sure I wasn't doing an innuendo on that one.
Mm.
Dick Poverman prefers a nice single malt scotch. There you go.
Is it shaman? Mitch, you know Spanish too.
You know Spanish?
No. But I do learn in every language how much, baby, and I won't pay that in every single language. In all 43 languages around the world.
Oh, Ingo corrects the whole thing about updating the BIOS with BitLocker. So your system isn't going to boot when you update the BIOS with BitLocker on. So you need to use your BitLocker recovery key. So it's going to tell you if you're not going to turn BitLocker off, be sure you have your recovery key. And that's usually like, if you log in with an MS Microsoft account, it'll save that BitLocker key. But if you can't log into the MS account because your system won't boot, then you need a copy of your BitLocker key. It's a pain. Just turn BitLocker off, update your BIOS, and turn it back on. It would make life so much easier. But
Good to go.
appreciate that additional information. I don't use BitLocker myself, so we have almost 400 people watching. Right on. Let us know, where in the world are you watching this from? And we'll have the lights back on here in a minute, guys. We just want to see these LEDs. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for you at home to see what's happening. Wayne says he likes the way the studio looks with the lights turned down. Yeah, I look a lot better. I'm much more handsome with the lights up.
You said it, I didn't.
All you see is teeth.
Yeah, let's both smile on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Too much brightness. Oh, that was the top of my head.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Samuel joins us from Pennsylvania. Raphael is in Jasper, Canada. Stealth Mode is in St. Augustine, Florida, where it's sunny and warm.
Sydney, that's kind of what July and August. I'm aiming for Uncle Mitch's next trip to Australia and New Zealand. Yeah.
Well, that'll be cool. I'm very interested in that.
Yeah.
Peter joins us from Netherlands. Andy Kane is in Wicklow. And Chris Johnson from Albuquerque, New Mexico. We've got Richard Palmentier from Washington State. Bob Peterson joins us from Minnesota. Ghetto Fortnite in Pittsburgh. Ingo watches us from Sweden. Look at that.
Ah.
Choppa's in Sydney. And Peter Laycock, our friend in Edinburgh, Scotland. Jonathan in Lincolnshire, UK. And John Rogers in Dayton, Ohio. There's Scott joining us from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Would you like some cheese, some beer, and some bacon?
Yeah. My mother grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and my father in a little town called Viroqua, Wisconsin. So,
Sounds cold.
yeah, very cold. Boston, let's go park the car. Is it too much?
Park the car by the harbor.
Yeah, go.
Luke Greeny is joining us from Vermont. It's going to be negative 20 to 25 Fahrenheit tonight. Welcome to Vermont. Rick Lakes is in Minnesota. 55 Staying Dude, Oklahoma. Mort Tots in Maryland, and Steve McCure in Arkansas. Andrew Hurst is in, how do you say that? Morecambe? Morecambe? He's in the UK. Let's just leave it at that. And then we've got John Lewis from Salvador, Brazil.
Yeah, it was either going to be South America or Australia, but I'm kind of tired of visiting countries with different languages. At least in Australia, they speak English. Or Ireland, I could do Ireland and Scotland. Might not understand.
They don't speak English.
Yeah, might not understand.
Paul O'Brien joins us from Ireland. Bob Ars in Boston. Where One joins us from Finland. And Dan Nilsson in Sweden. James Carter in Chesapeake, Ohio. Dome in 2000, also in the Netherlands. And Nick Caffreys in West Cork, Ireland. Shamim Kajveris joins us from Gothenburg in Sweden. Mark Cresswell in Southport in the UK. And Michael joins us from South Wales in the UK. I love that Welsh accent. I'm telling you, I can listen to a Welsh accent. I don't even care what you're saying. You could read me the ingredients on a bag of chips, crisps, and I would just be riveted to listening to the sing-song tone of that accent. We've also got Ron Barnes joining us from Ohio and Starshine in Notting Hill. I guess that's in the UK. We've got Mark Gaines in Northern Ireland. And Joshua Gwennon in North Carolina. The Bronx joins us from Jamaica, man.
Yeah, spent a week there one day. No, I
Buffalo Soldier.
spent 10 days down there once. Yeah, liked it.
Nick Poverman in Belmar, New Jersey. And Sherry McFarland in Northeastern Ohio. Douglas Burchell joins us from Oakland, California. And let's see, John Williams in Madison, Wisconsin. Sarah Hallinan is in New Zealand.
Oh.
Got a Kiwi.
Oh.
Claudio Ventura joins us from Portugal. Gary McGraw is in Fort Worth, Texas.
Are you sure this isn't April? No, it's not April.
This is a longer
Yeah,
process. This is normal. Absolutely. Do not interrupt it. I cannot emphasize enough. And that's why I want to show this live. Because you might think this isn't how long a BIOS update takes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
If you do it this way universally, it takes a while. It's a good, has it even been 10 minutes? It takes a good 10 minutes. So
Yeah,
when you're sitting here watching it, it'll feel like 20, but
watching paint dry. All right.
fascinating.
Yes.
How come you can tell people there's a million stars in the sky and they'll believe you, but you put up a sign that says wet paint and they have to touch it?
Yeah, got it.
They're skeptical.
Yeah, don't step on the grass. They have to step on the.
Bradley Morris says it's freezing in Illinois, 10 degrees there. Tim Teal joins us from Ohio. We've got Paul M. in Fresno, California, and Kurt Schlegel joins us from Aurora, Colorado. Jerry Watson's in Oregon.
Colorado. Yeah, I guess I'll be driving up there at the beginning of April.
Greg Dowler joins us from Birmingham in the UK. John F's in the UP in Michigan. We've got.
Did you ever get up there when you were living in Michigan?
I've never been to the.
Isn't that funny?
Well,
I've been to Traverse City.
Yeah, but that's still pretty far.
Yeah.
Sault Ste. Marie was.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, that's
when I
getting
was a
up there.
child. So I think that is technically the UP, but it was a family trip when I was a kid. My dad liked to put the kids in a car.
Yeah.
You know.
I kind of want to see that Mackinac Island and that hotel.
You've never been there?
No.
Oh, I've been there like 5 times.
Oh.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Touristy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do they allow cars on the island or no cars?
Fire trucks and ambulances.
And that's it.
That's
yeah.
it. Everything else, you ride a bicycle, walk, or a horse-drawn carriage.
Okay.
Let's see. The great movie called Somewhere in Time with Christopher
Christopher
Reeves
and
takes place at the Grand Hotel.
And Jane Seymour, yeah.
And then there's also a Morgan Freeman movie that takes place on
Belle Isle.
Belle Isle. Yeah, called Belle Isle.
Yep.
It's all right outside.
See how I pulled that
You did.
sharp as a tack?
The Belle Isle is actually just a little island right across from Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
It's right there. Whereas the other places we're talking about are way up at the top. They're a good 4-hour drive from Detroit. All right, keep going here. Nicholas is in Newark, New Jersey. And man, Matthew Burton's in Tauntaun. Isn't that a creature in Star Wars?
Hmm.
Taunton, Massachusetts. Roger Naira joins us from Norway. Have you ever been to Norway?
No.
That's on my bucket list. I definitely want to go. John P. is also in Vermont, along with our good friend Luke Greenia. Rudy Kellerman joins us from South Carolina. See, some of you were like, wait a minute, I live next to where that guy said. Where are you at? You guys might make some new friends here. Let's see. Les Stevenson joins us from Toronto.
Yeah, that's another city that's on my bucket list.
Toronto?
Yeah.
Bring a lot of money.
Okay.
Pricey. David Moore says he's from Poole Dorset in the UK. Jerry Gilham also in the UK. Ben Laird's in Dundee, Scotland. And Steve Gearlings joins us from Michigan. John Williams wants to know if you have a dad joke today.
When I left the house, I forgot to get one. I was in such a mad rush to get over here because it's really what I live for.
Wow, you have a sad life.
Yeah.
David Herzog joins us from Milford, Ohio, and something I can't read.
Okay.
Let's see. There's a different language there.
Okay.
That's obviously not a message for me. Dustin Fuller's in Clay Township, Michigan, and did we get through everybody? Let's see any more. Question for Mitch. Have you ever worked with Morgan Freeman? Seems like he'd be very intense to work around.
No, never have. Be very professional, though. Always comes
That'd be intimidating, wouldn't it?
well prepared, and that magnificent voice of his. This has been over 10 minutes. I'm telling you, not that I'm a clock, but I mean,
Well,
that's.
I don't care if it takes an hour. You leave it alone.
Yeah.
It won't take an hour, but it is a slow.
Yeah.
Again, we don't have a processor or RAM in this,
Right.
so everything's going to be done at a board level speed, right? This is kind of like would imagine
Yeah.
it might be the way that they're done in the factory, but I can't imagine
Yeah.
it takes.
Well, here's a tip: quit buying cheap USB drives.
Wouldn't make a difference in this case.
I don't believe you. No, you're right. It would.
We're limited without a CPU and RAM.
Right.
And I can't emphasize that the fact it can even do this at all at any speed is pretty darn impressive if you ask me.
Yeah.
Now, it's a shame in the instructions here, they don't tell you approximately how long to expect this to take because, first of all, if you're not familiar with the process, you wouldn't know any better. But if you are familiar with BIOS updates, you would know we could have done this 3 times by now in the regular way.
I'm thinking 4.
But if you don't have any choice,
Okay.
you got to leave it be. Nick Poverman said, here's a dad joke. The other day, my wife asked me to pass her lipstick, but I accidentally gave her a glue stick. She still isn't talking to me. But I'm bummed.
Dang, that's a good one.
Dan Nelson says, what do you call an unpredictable camera? Loose cannon.
Wow.
There you go. There's a couple of dad jokes for you. Painful. Jerry McFarland said, so the flash drive will stop blinking when it's done then. Well, when it's done, it shouldn't be reading or anything else from the flash drive, right? But there's, again, some flash drives don't have LEDs these days. So what the manufacturer's saying is watch this light here on the board. And when this light on the board stops blinking, then it's done. But what I'm trying to tell you is, since that flashing indicates data is being read or written to the flash drive, in theory, they'll both stop blinking.
In theory. Yeah.
In theory, when this is done blinking, it's done reading from the flash. In this case, we're reading. We're not writing anything.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, I mentioned the flash drive might be easier for you to see. But just because the flash drive stops blinking doesn't mean it's still not processing, right? That's not the one to go by. You want to go by this one down here. I say down here, but this is the top of the board. I've got the board upside down because of the cable sticking out like this. Obviously, this would be a lot easier to do if we went ahead and mounted this in the case.
Yeah.
However, it's harder to put the CPU and RAM in that way. So we'll do the CPU and RAM and SSD, and then I think we need to put it in the case so we can hook power and do everything else. So we'll change the order of how we normally build by prioritizing putting it into the case sooner.
And that's a big case.
It's a big case, but it's also a little different than other cases in the sense that it's got the cutouts for all these ports, and it'll be interesting to take a look at that. because that obviously is important to be able to access those ports. And it's also important to have enough room for all those cables so you can put the back cover back on. And this case is a little bit deeper in that way, specifically for that reason. Nick Poverman said he just got fired from his job at the keyboard factory. They told him he wasn't putting in enough shifts. Dun-dun-dun.
Alrighty then.
Rystar Man said when he did as a SUSE board, it took between 5 and 10 minutes. Well, that's where I got my timeline because I've never done one on an MSI board. And it was about 10 minutes on the Summit SUSE board. I don't know if it was one of the Red Ripper builds. It was a high-end motherboard. This one's taking, seems longer, but that doesn't mean anything is wrong or unusual. Nothing to worry about. Just leave it alone. This is one reason why you don't want to do this, right? In this way, you would want to go through the regular BIOS option. It's much faster and you get more of a, a progress meter on screen versus a vague blinking LED. And after a while, it might make you think something's wrong and you might be inclined to interrupt it, thinking that you're not interrupting it. And in doing so, brick your motherboard. So it's no joke. Leave it alone.
Walk away, go do something else.
Ben Laird said this could be a 5-part stream. Just doing this. It shouldn't be much longer. I think we're through the bulk of it. It's a big, 32 megs is a big BIOS size. It really is. I'm not sure you can really appreciate a floppy disk was 1.44 meg. This BIOS would take, about 18, 19 floppy disks. How long would it take to read 18 or 19 floppy disks back in the day? Comparatively, this isn't that bad.
I was never so glad when they switched from the floppies to the plastic ones, hard drives, the little ones.
The zip drives?
No, the 3 1/4s, or I don't know. The plastic.
Those are still called floppies.
Yeah, the plastic one with the silver.
That's a floppy.
Yeah. But the floppies, you know what I'm talking. The original ones were terrible.
10-inch and 8-inch.
Yeah.
And they were floppy.
Yeah.
And that did throw a lot of people off because they'd say, I got my little hard disk. It's like, no, that's still a floppy disk.
Yeah, that's still a floppy. But
in fact, if you open it up, there is a floppy disk inside.
But it held a lot more info on it.
Yeah, there's eventually. 1.44 megabyte was the standard for IBM PCs. And then on the old floppies, depending on, an Atari or a Commodore or an Apple, you could double-side them. You can get a hole punch and then flip them over and use the other side. Some of those were like 360K, so you could do 720K and using both sides. It was like getting a free disk using the other side. Although sometimes the other side didn't work or it had a lot of errors on it. And floppies in general. Yeah. They were real flaky. One day they work, one day they don't. Get it too close to a magnet, you totally erase it. Yeah. Frank Jimmy said he was going to tell a time traveling joke, but you guys didn't like it. See, he already told it.
Yeah. And the zip drives were like kind of like this, that you actually, there was a slot on the machine that you shoved it in, right? So it was kind of more portable, is what I kind of
Well, they had an internal and an external version of the zip drive, and it was just basically a floppy drive on steroids. It would hold 100 megs. Then later they came out with the 250. And then after that, and it was still using magnetic-based floppy media. After that, they came out with the Jazz drive, which wasn't that successful, which was a hard drive platter in a portable enclosure. And those were a lot more delicate, but they could hold a lot more data. I think a gig. All right, Gregory Howard with a $10 contribution. Hey, guys, he says, that little PC, the coffee machine PC he bought for me, he says, it's running great. That looks like as much fun as watching water freeze this year. Well, depending on if you live in a small town, it just might be a daily activity. What do snowmen eat for breakfast? This is from Bob R. What do snowmen eat for breakfast? Frosted Flakes.
There you go.
No shortage of dad jokes out there. Thank you for the contribution, Gregory Howard. Does anybody have a time on this? How long we've been going so far? Somebody watching has to be able to rewind the video and do the math on this. They can tell us. I don't know what it is. Craig Casabona with a $20 super chat there says, nice to see you and Mitch together.
Hey, Craig, thank you.
Yeah, we worked out our
Yeah.
differences
Yeah.
and saw a counselor.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. No,
Yeah.
that never happened.
Yeah. Medicine through pharmaceuticals.
Slipped a little something in his drink and
Yeah.
we're all friends again.
Yeah.
No, we've never
Yeah.
not been friends that
Yeah.
I'm aware of. If so, he hasn't told me.
Yeah.
But if he did, I'd straighten him out.
Yeah.
I'd say, listen, you're going to like me or I'm going to beat the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Till you like me.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
And Chad, I think I've told you this maybe years ago, but I'm one of the rare individuals that I've never even had a puff of weed. So
You're one of the rare individuals, I thought
Yeah.
you were going to say, that likes me.
oh,
That's
give me $1. I
Carey's
will.
hey, $1's a bargain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm paying tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, like you said, had the website even said approximately,
Yeah, they should have given us a heads up on
yeah,
this.
even just in air approximately 10 to 20 minutes, at least you would have gone, because most people would have said it's broken, pulled it out, and brick
I don't know
their
that most
motherboard.
people would. I'm not even sure most people would have the.
Yeah, guts.
Guts,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
certainly
Right.
one of the motivations I had to demonstrate this was to alleviate this concern because I knew this was going to take a while. Honestly, this is taking longer than I anticipated,
Yeah.
but I've never done an MSI BIOS before this way.
Okay.
So the person who did, somebody in the chat said they did this on their MSI. Did they say how long it took?
I don't know. Paul wants you to check your email.
Oh, my phone stopped beeping.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah. Things are kind of looking.
All right.
All right.
Well, we'll find something to talk about while we wait.
Oh.
Let's see a couple of contributions. Bob R says TGIF with a $10 super chat. Happy to be here in chat today. Well, we're happy to have you. Bob.
29 minutes.
Has it been 29? Really? Andy Kane with a €5 contribution says happy Friday, and I'm glad to be a part of this great community. Well, Andy, thank you. Thank you for the contribution. Thank you for being a great part of this community, of this great community. Paul O'Brien with a €2 says check my email. So that's what I was going to do. Right? William Gale says he just ordered the Geekcom mini PC. Well, let us know what you think about it. Hope you used my link. Oh, I got a text from a friend who every Friday tells me TGIF. And I said, you know, you're celebrating Fridays that's one less Friday. We only get so many Fridays.
Yeah.
And every time you celebrate one, you're really saying goodbye. And that's one less you have left. He's like, well, now I'm depressed. It's Friday.
Yeah, this is kind of like SpongeBob. Many hours later.
A few moments later.
A few moments
Keep up the great content. This year is looking great so far. $25. That's from our friend Paul O'Brien there in Ireland. And let's see, I got an advertisement from New Wave Toys. They're coming out with a little pinball machine, but they initially said it wasn't going to be playable. It was just there to like light up and look pretty amongst all the little arcade games, and people revolted. How dare you, you know? And then they said, okay, we'll make it playable, but it's digital. It's not going to have like a little, if it had a little pinball, that would be so cool. So we'll see what they're going to do. I'm not a pinball person anyway, so I'm not interested in that. And then, of course, we have some conversation with our good friends over at Acronis as we move forward with them. They're going to be supporting us all year this year, and hopefully that will continue indefinitely. But looking forward to working with them and having Begowden on the show, and learning more about the product and the latest features that they've added. So there's a little interaction there. Mara's doing a great job of keeping up the correspondence for me because it gets a little bit overwhelming for me sometimes. Katrina says she's watching from Hot Springs, Montana. Holy cow. I don't get many people from Montana anymore. Steve Mercure says, I get 31 minutes on the rewind to where you started this update. So we are over a half an hour. That seems pretty unusual. Again, when we look at the information, it says Press the flash BIOS button to flash the BIOS and the LED starts flashing. The LED will be turned off when the process is completed. So the fact that that's still flashing indicates, you know, we're still busy. We're still doing something. Now, I am on the right page, right? I did go to the B550M projectzero, because when you rename a BIOS, it's possible to put the wrong BIOS on the board. I would think, because it's not really cross-checking anything and you don't have a CPU and RAM. So you better make sure when you do this, you know what you're doing.
It's the B650.
Make sure I'm on the B650 page. Yeah, B650M projectzero. That
There
is
you go.
exactly what we have. I am on the right page. Remember, they do have an Intel version of this, but it wouldn't be called a B650 because that's an AMD chipset. And sometimes, like when things seem like it's taking too long, that's when I start wondering, you know, have I messed something up? This self-doubt is something we need to control. And, you know, it can lead, ultimately, self-doubt leads to disappointment or disaster in my experience. So I'm going to continue to be patient with it. I really think that's a ridiculous period of time. Maybe while we're waiting, let's Google, because it wouldn't be just me thinking this is a long time. How long, keyboard, here we go. The keyboard went to sleep.
Okay.
What does that tell you? How long does MSI BIOS flash take? But here's the thing, we're
2 days.
using, someone said, okay, updating BIOS version versus the BIOS flash button. Let's take a look, share the screen with you guys on what we're seeing. Got nothing else to do, so let's just entertain
I think
ourselves.
somebody said a half hour, but it's been longer than that.
USB stick formatted in FAT32, download the latest BIOS, rename it MSI.ROM, motherboard connected with the CPU, just the CPU, power and 24-pin. USB stick plugged into the flash BIOS board, flash BIOS button pressed, and now the little LED's been flashing for an hour and a half. Although it should only last 2 to 5 minutes. I've tried it with 3 different USB sticks. Does anybody know what the problem is? Give this a read. For a failed BIOS flash, PC must be turned off. Okay, we did that. For the flashback BIOS to be started, don't turn on your PC first. Following directions are for Windows-based. Okay, don't care about that. Now he's saying rename the BIOS. There should be folders on the USB. Oh, should be no other files or folders. A blank USB drive. Turn off the computer. Carefully take the PC apart and remove all the components. So they're saying take out the CPU, take out the RAM if you want to do it this way. Then wait about 2 minutes before next step, just in case there's a power on-off cycle. Plug the USB into the USB port just below the BIOS button. This is a different one. Don't touch any jumpers on the board. Push the flashback button, then release it. About 5 seconds later, a LED above the flash board will start to flash. After 15 seconds, the flash drive will double. This is the writing to the BIOS period. Once done writing, it will stop flashing and the power supply will turn off. For a 16 meg BIOS, it should take 4 to 5 minutes. If you're 32 meg BIOS, it should take 6 to 7 minutes. People have said it may turn back on. If so, just turn off and unplug the power supply. On, the BIOS should be flashed. If one of these steps does not happen, it's a failed flash. Okay. Did as you described, no parts were installed, I tried it with MBR and GPT, formatted BIOS, formatted flash drive. I also did a BIOS reset the BIOS, just keeps blinking for hours and it doesn't turn off. I had the same problem with my B550, ended up buying the same board to test what was wrong. Started working fine with the new board. I think I may have bricked my board since my older processor didn't load up anymore. The blind following the blind. I love this conversation. Someone says, I have the same problem. I think I need to send it back. What is the brand of pen drive you use? The brand Normally the brand name ones are better. Someone said they only use SanDisk. Did you get this resolved? I have the same issue. See, I told you we wouldn't be alone here. Okay. Well, I would say this is 3 times longer that we've waited than we should have waited. So this might end up being a 5-parter. They might be right. Because I think I'm going to interrupt this and start again. In theory, we should be able to simply overwrite a corrupt BIOS this way. That's the other benefit, theoretically. I just don't want to bring that on myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and you know, I don't know that a name brand flash drive is going to make a difference. So I'm going to cut the power here. This is the dumbest thing.
Yep.
You really shouldn't do this. But after a half an hour, I feel like these other people are saying they're waiting an hour and a half and it's still going. We got other things to do today. So I'm going to cut power. Oh. And you'll see there's a little remnant of power. Look, it's running without power. That's impressive. We have cut power and it's still running. How's that possible? I think it's draining the capacitors on the board. And that's the spookiest thing I've ever seen.
There you go.
Finally, the capacitors got drained. Now, I'm going to just try this one more time. The same process. We turn the switch on. And then I'm going to step around. And I'm going to press the... Where's my glasses? Can I see my glasses, please? One more shot here. Flash BIOS. Do I just press and release it? Because last time I held it in, maybe I should not have held it in. So you'll notice this light starts blinking immediately, then that light starts. So it's obviously still trying to flash. We're at 2:58. So by 3:08 that's our local time, this should be done within 10 minutes. If it's not done within 10 minutes, we can try a different flash drive. And hopefully we're not bricking the board. We're all under warranty. This would be covered under warranty, by the way, because we're not customizing a BIOS, right? This came from the manufacturer. Everything we're doing is supported by the company. And so if what they're giving us isn't working, that's a warranty issue. And if that's the case, we will wrap this up early and continue on another day. But we still have a number of steps before we throw in the towel. Don't give up on your first attempt. Sometimes you have 3 strikes before you're out. So we're on strike 1. Now, if this doesn't work, the next step will be use a SanDisk flash drive. Try it again. If that doesn't work, the next step is just going to be, let's put the CPU and RAM in it and see if it boots, right? And if that doesn't work, I'll probably have to do an RMA for the board and send it back. Or off camera, maybe let it flash and go to bed and see if it's still flashing in the morning, you know? So again, it does seem confirmed that 10 minutes is the normal time. We've waited 3 times longer than that. Always be patient. Always wait longer than people say. Sometimes I'll be ready in 5 minutes means, half an hour later. You know what I'm talking about.
In the meantime, Aziz, light.
Should we bring the lights on? I wanted the audience to be able to see. What if we cut the difference and just turn half the lights on? Can they still see?
Yeah.
That's a little better. So we're going to be a little dim.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
We're already a little dim.
Hey, you know who was in chat? The man.
Michael Dane
was it. Yeah.
Patrick Kennedy says, maybe try without updating the BIOS. Well, I appreciate the suggestion, Patrick, but the point we're trying to do here is to show people how to do this. And any problems we encounter are problems anybody who decides to do this might encounter. So we're actually glad. It makes for a more interesting video. If everything goes like it should, it's not as thorough of an education or experience, right? So I kind of like it when things don't go as expected because it makes, to me, the video more valuable. I'm not worried about the motherboard. This doesn't go to a customer. Nobody's waiting on it. We're under no timeline or pressure. And I just want to show this process and ideally show it working. And just because it didn't work the first time doesn't mean that trying it again isn't worthwhile or trying a different flash drive isn't worthwhile. If we try a SanDisk flash drive and it works, like let's say the second attempt doesn't work, but we do the same thing using a name brand flash drive and that does work, then we've walked away with some knowledge we would not otherwise have. And I feel like that's the whole point of me doing my videos, is to share these experiences together so people don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. Now, after a certain amount of time, you go, okay, we need to move on. You know what I mean? So after our third attempt, then we'll just try and, put it together and see if it works. Assuming that I don't have this figured out in 3 attempts. Like that's a worst case scenario. One of the benefits that we have here on YouTube is, we're not on network television. We don't have, a producer or show product, what do you call that? Production manager.
Or floor manager.
Yeah, pointing at the clock going, we got to air a commercial or whatever. So let's take advantage of the freedom.
Stretch.
The great thing is when this video is done, we can edit, right? And do a few moments later, you know. But you need to know if you want to do this at home. This is this is what happens ideally when it works. Here's what happens when it doesn't work. And then hopefully we can figure out why it didn't work. And if it just never is going to work and we can't get the system to boot up, then it's an RMA back to the manufacturer. Or could even send it back to Newegg where I bought it. Within the first 30 days, you can often do a replace or exchange with the seller, which might be free returns depending on who you bought it from. Versus if you send it back to the manufacturer yourself, you will pay for the shipping, and they'll pay for the shipping back. Samuel wants to know why don't we turn on our logo behind us while we're in the dark? It's been a while. Do you think it still works?
Plug it in and I'll take a chance.
I'm sure you're standing on rubber.
Yeah. You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, look at that. We're in business now. Oh, that BIOS is going to work now.
Yeah.
I can feel it. Where's the radiation coming off of these fluorescent tubes? Either way, smell something burning.
Yeah. Pardon me. Week's time. All right.
Mitch has to get a snack.
Yeah.
Got to keep that blood sugar up.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go 5 more minutes on this. And if it still isn't working, I guess I can prep the SanDisk. I'm going to assume, even though it would be a little early if it finished right now, let's prepare for the worst. So let me grab my SanDisk. I got some, here's a cheap SanDisk drive here. Oh, you know what? Here's one that's a little bit better from SanDisk. And let me plug it in back here. Come on, Carey. Like that. And it's blank. Is it FAT32? Let's see if it's FAT32. Watch your step there. FAT32. And then we'll go over to downloads, back over to that file. Oh, no, the folder I already extracted. Here's our folder. Copy msi.rom out of there and put it onto SanDisk. Right click and paste. It's already renamed from last time, and then I eject.
Just testing.
SanDisk. Get behind you over here.
Let me tell you, chat, Uncle Carey and I lifted this thing, and it was, not that it was an anvil, but she was pretty heavy, and we had to find a stud. Now we're talking about me.
Anchors.
Yeah. Oh,
Anchors.
Anchor.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
if you find a stud, you don't need the anchors.
Yeah. So.
Ben Laird wants to know if you update the main BIOS, does it update the backup BIOS? Most motherboards do not have a backup BIOS. That's very unusual. Gigabyte was doing that for a while. That was kind of their claim to fame, was their backup BIOSes. I don't know of many others who did that. Maybe a board here or there, but for the most part, most boards only have the one. And I do believe this one only has the one. So that's it. Backup BIOSes are relatively unusual. Even Gigabyte has more or less stopped offering that, except on some boards. But it used to be like on every board, it was sort of their thing that differentiated them from competitors. Katrina says updating the BIOS on this board this way at times can take as much as 2 hours according to MSI support. That's insane. That is insane. So regardless, I still want to go with like the 10-minute mark. And that's the problem. Like if, let's say we were 45 minutes into it and we really need 2 hours. Well, now we're going to need 3 hours because we just started over. So we need 2 hours on top. That's why you really don't want to interrupt this process. So I suppose that's possible. And why would they say up to? Shouldn't it always be the same? Like if you have the same board and the same BIOS, which is the same size, flashing it the same way, shouldn't the time be exactly the same for everybody? Unless, in fact, it's on the flash drive that you're using, and that's what's differing the times. So we're going to let this go until my clock says 10 after 3. We're at 7 after 3. I'm going to give it 3 more minutes. But if that doesn't work, we're going to try one more time using a SanDisk flash drive. And if that, we'll give it 10 minutes again, 11 minutes. If that doesn't progress any further, we're going to try putting the CPU and RAM in it, I think, and see if it boots. I have a suspicion that we've only got half a BIOS. If it takes 2 hours and we're only running it for an hour and we shut the power down, then in theory, we have half a BIOS, and in theory, it should not work.
Right.
This data, when it's reading it off the USB, it's not like it's got a buffer. It's putting it on our flash chip, on our BIOS chip. So if our BIOS chip is half written, it's incomplete and it can't start. Benefit is we should be able, using this process, to override it even if it's not all there. In theory, this is a BIOS recovery method. So I feel pretty bold about this for that reason. Now, unfortunately, it's 3:08. We've got 2 minutes left. I'm not feeling it. I don't think anything's going to be any different. However, I'm going to wait it out just to be sure. 2 hours. Doesn't seem right. Definitely think we're looking at part 1 regardless, because we're already an hour in today. 2 hours. We're 2 hours in? Yep. We're 2 hours in and we haven't even flashed a BIOS.
Yeah. But we're learning.
We're having a new experience.
Yes.
Still blinking, and it's 3:09. Ondog said this is one of the reasons I generally avoid AMD products. Yes, and where do you do your secrecies that can hit you in the face, like Carey said earlier. Jim KGM said this could be called Project Zero for a couple of reasons at this point.
And we're 310.
Yeah, and we're still flashing. Let it go to 311. I just want to be sure before I chop its head off. I am nothing if not a gracious king. Brickleg says, shut it off, Carey.
Pull the plug.
Ben Laird said, wouldn't it update faster with the CPU and RAM installed? Well, assuming it can read our CPU. See, the whole point of this is if your motherboard does not recognize your new CPU. When AMD releases a new series of CPUs and you want to upgrade the motherboard you bought last year to the new CPU, the BIOS will have no idea what that chip is and the system will not boot. So you'll have to use the old chip to flash the BIOS so it'll recognize the new chip before you can put the new chip in. But if you bought a motherboard without the old chip and you've got a new chip and it doesn't recognize, you should always try first. We didn't try because we wanted to show you this process. I think a lot of people watching aren't paying attention on why we're doing this. So yes, it would have flashed. It would have been much clearer to watch the flash happen through the BIOS with the CPU and RAM installed if the BIOS that was pre-installed on this would recognize that new CPU. It might have, it might not have. We'll never know at this point. I don't care. This should work regardless. So we're at 311 right now. So let's go ahead and cut the power. We're going to try one more time with a different flash drive. But I think if this doesn't work, I'm going to assume that with only half a BIOS, the board will not boot. So I think what we would do from that point as a technician is I would say, let's go ahead and whatever happens, let's let this flash drive go ahead and run. We'll end the broadcast. We'll go eat. And we'll take our time. And then we'll come back and see if it ever finished. It's not like we have to sit here watching it. It will wait patiently and indefinitely when it's done.
Hocus pocus.
Where's my glasses? I can't see so good without my glasses. Bring my glasses and my shoes.
Now you're sure with the right slot.
Oh yeah, no, it's pretty obvious. Flash BIOS. Okay, flip this on.
Hocus pocus, bow-legged locust.
Here we go. Now see, this flash drive has no light. No light, so I have to rely. Oh, this is different. The fan just kicked on. The light's blinking faster now.
Okay.
Well, this is different. The time is 3:13, so we'll give this till 3:25. We'll give it 12 minutes.
Okay.
This is different.
Yeah, the fan did kick on.
That makes me feel like it's doing something. Are you telling me my $2.50 flash drive isn't equal to or greater than my $10 SanDisk flash drive?
Ah, it's pulling more power because that's why it, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously it wasn't pulling much power before. It never kicked the fan on. So the fan on the power supply came on. The light seems like it's blinking faster now. And that seems to indicate it's doing something it wasn't doing before. It's quite possible it never even touched the BIOS before now. Oh, we got a red light and a green light over here on this side of the board. We didn't see that before, did we?
Did not.
Okay, so that would indicate to me, despite the flashing, it wasn't actually doing a darn thing. So likely we never even touched the BIOS. In that case, the system, if it was already pre-configured with a BIOS that would recognize this Ryzen 5 7600, then it would boot. However, we wouldn't learn this. Is this not worth the education? Where else are you going to get this type of information? Let's take a look and see what happens here. I am hopeful that, since we're getting a different response from the board, we have a red and a green LED on facing us. And this flashing is happening faster and the fan has come on. We have three different things simply switching from this cheapo USB flash drive to a name brand flash drive. I will erase this before we put this back. Now let's see how long it takes. And this is what happens when you buy cheap crap, by the way, right? You guys wonder why I always buy faster flash drives? And I keep telling you time is money. But then when it's your time and you're there going, geez, Carey, I'm just sitting here watching. Now you're wishing I used a faster flash drive, aren't you? That I didn't spend the $2.50, that I opened the wallet and broke out the $10 bill and bought the nicer flash drive. Well, there you go. This is why I say what I say. You don't have to buy the most expensive flash drive, but if anything's important, you don't want to put it on a cheap flash drive. So I don't mind using cheap flash drives for boot disks, like for a Cronus Rescue or RAM Test, because I can just recreate those if they're not good or incompatible with systems. But this is a very different experience right now. And this teaches us a little something about the difference, so that if you experience something similar, you don't have to wait a half an hour like we did. You could say, oh, I recognize this behavior. This indicates it's not working. Let's just go ahead and stop it now and let's try a different flash drive. So now you can recognize the problem. You potentially know what the solution is. Because our response, the board is reacting differently, I am making an assumption that this is now doing what it's supposed to. It may not be. We still might be sitting here for 20 minutes and have no progress. However, I think this is going to be perfectly successful.
So smoke them if you got them. All right.
Jim KJ3N says if things don't go wrong, then you don't learn anything. No, you just confirm what you thought you knew, right? That's all. That's without any problems. You might assume you know, but until you actually do it, if it doesn't have any problems, then you're confirming you do know. But if you do have problems, then that's an opportunity to learn. And it's not something to be avoided. It's something to be embraced and to cherish and say, oh, you know what? This is a great opportunity. This gives me a unique video. I couldn't schedule or script this type of video. And yet these are the very things that people at home that do this procedure are likely to experience. And so if you Google it and you see somebody says, well, it could take up to 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like you're getting all kinds of different information from who knows who on the internet and who knows if they know what they're talking about. Whereas here we do live unscripted real videos showing in real time, not only what the process is, but how we react to it. I'm not freaking out. What do I care? Doesn't work, send it back. Who cares? It's not like this is a pacemaker. You know what I mean? It's fine. This is it's just a motherboard, for crying out loud. So no reason to freak out or make a big deal out of nothing. Now, it doesn't mean I won't, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
It's just another day in the shop for me. I don't care. David Graham wants to know, are the red and green lights acting like read and write lights? No, they're just on. They're just solid.
Yeah.
There's a red light and a green light on. And
Which was not on with the other USB.
I didn't notice them before. If they were there, I didn't notice them. But I see them now. They're pretty bright.
Yep.
But they're solid. Oh, it shut off. It has shut off.
And turned back on.
And turned itself back on. They said that was normal.
Okay.
They said it was normal. And no more flashing.
Okay. Who says it takes brains? All right.
I brought you an egg
Oh.
and some nuts. All right.
Why did
You know
why
when
didn't you
you're-
bring me a box of candy? It's too expensive.
I ate it on the way over.
Yeah. Well, you didn't pay me
for the last
one.
All right, now,
Yeah.
here's the deal. We need to shut the board off. So the light's not on anymore. So we're done. This process has completed. And this is what I wanted to demonstrate, because you're like, well, it's still on. Yeah, but the light stopped.
Yeah.
It did shut off and come back on. We saw the fan stop. And
That couldn't have taken more than
that took
4
about
minutes.
10
yeah.
minutes.
Or 10 minutes, yeah.
Okay, so SanDisk flash drive, generic flash drive. It matters. Don't be so cheap. All right, anyway.
Now we're going to put this
I
in.
am glad everything went down the way it went down. That is totally worth this whole video. Just this alone could be its own little standalone video.
Yeah.
Not that many of you would need this process, but should you need it or should you consider it, I want you to have proper expectations. And bear in mind that ASUS or ASRock or Gigabyte, their process may differ slightly. This is an MSI experience.
Okay.
All right. So let's flip the board over. And I'm going to take the power connectors off because I need us to be able to push down on the top of the board.
Put the CPU on.
Because we need CPU, RAM,
And NVMe
and storage.
storage. Yeah.
And in theory, we should boot right up. I really don't want to flip the board upside down with the RAM in it, though, because I'm afraid
There you go.
I could damage the RAM. But you know, like when you're, I don't know, you might be driving your car and you narrowly miss hitting something that could have ended your life, and then you laugh. You're like, ha, ha, ha. Or a roller coaster. You know, it's something that, you know, death is near, and it's funny when you don't die, right? There's like this adrenaline that you get hit with. I didn't die. Hey, that was a close call. Kind of like bungee jumping, you know, you're falling and then the thing pulls you back and you're like, oh, I could have just flatted against the ground. So that's what I felt just a minute ago. I was like, there's that little rush of adrenaline. It worked. Just think, if I would have started with the SanDisk, we would have never known. It would have just worked exactly like I said. And you guys would think, okay, I'm prepared now. I watched Carey do it. Then you go and grab your cheap flash drive and you have a very different experience from me, would you feel a little deceived? Like, hey, that's not how Carey did it.
Now, what do you think? And the first thing would be the CPU frame?
Yeah, we've got the contact frame. I just want to move this power supply out of the room. Darn it, I was getting hungry. I thought we were going to go eat.
Yeah.
But we're still going to go on here for another half hour.
So the contact frame.
So contact frame is in the box. Now I'm going to switch to our overhead camera here.
Okay.
We're going to go here. We're going to drag this across. Not that I don't trust you, but I don't trust you. No, this is a little bit delicate.
Yeah.
The screws need to be tightened very precisely here. And I do think this is a complete waste of money to do this. However, it looks cool. So let's go to, what do we call this one? Close-up camera. It's called the same thing. Let's move this keyboard over here. Let me move this closer to me and move this that closer to me too.
And in the box, upside down.
Yeah, these are like $10 or less on Amazon, and the link is there.
Came the frame.
Here's my cheap flash drive.
Okay.
And here's the flash drive that worked for us.
So
this was also pretty inexpensive.
In the box was the frame, just the hex.
They can't see it. You can see what they can see right there.
The hex.
Allen wrench.
Allen wrench and screws.
Yeah, we're going to need those screws. So one of the first things we have to do is take off these plastic hold downs.
You want the electric?
Yeah, give me the old lightsaber here.
Okay.
If I don't hit the camera with it, I guess I can this way. Now, I'm only taking these off to give me a little more room to work. We don't necessarily have to remove these, and I still haven't determined if that CPU comes with a cooler, because if it does, we may need to put these back on. But also for clarity for the shot, I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing here, so we just get those out of the way. Let's do this. Let me get the CPU over here.
Okay, and the blade.
Yeah. Go ahead and open that for me. Let's go to camera one here for a second so people can see what you're doing. Let's go ahead and open that. Yeah. My heart.
Yes.
If I had one, you would have cut into it.
All right. I'm thinking fans.
Does it feel like there's a heatsink in there? Is it heavy? I mean, I could probably read the product description, but you know, I'm a see it to believe it kind of guy. Take your time. We got all day.
Yeah. Here is our CPU and our Go Faster sticker, 3D.
All right.
And nothing. And drum roll, please.
Is that heavy? Is there something in there?
Oh, yeah. A fan.
Okay, this fan screws down, so these are going to stay off. That's what I wanted to determine.
Okay.
So, and we've got thermal compound already on there, and I really like the look of these CPUs. I like how they did the heat spreader on these. I just think it looks cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're not going to install that just yet. So we want to take this frame off. So let me get my screwdriver out of the way, and I need to get my glasses on.
So you need a number 1. Right?
And then this is the thermal compound and the Allen wrench they give it. Oh, it is Torx. It's not Allen.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? I have a Torx bit that would fit that, but I'm just going to do this by hand because it's kind of delicate.
Okay.
Like me. I'm a delicate man.
You say so. All right.
Yeah. Did you know your arm is bleeding and 3 of your fingers are missing?
Yeah.
I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're real delicate.
Yeah.
Now this is optional and probably completely unnecessary. I notice these aren't tight very much. They're just kind of snug.
It does look cool. COOL. Cool.
So the contact frame certainly makes it much more difficult to change your CPU out. When have you ever seen me change a CPU?
The last blue moon.
The last blue moon you drank?
Yeah.
So the bottom frame plate, the back plate behind this
Okay.
just
Fell away.
fell away because of the ports lifting the board up,
Mhm.
right? You notice the little arrow right there? It indicates pin 1. Theory, we should be able to just lift this straight up. If I actually, you know, completely unscrewed these screws. So there's that caveat. There's really nothing to grip it by. Something is still holding us in here.
Better check the bottom. Mhm.
Well, I don't want to move the board.
It's the frame.
Just unscrewing these enough. Seems like it's dropped away. There it is. I'm just trying to be cautious because I don't want to touch. These are all very, very delicate pins. They're very easily bent. But we wanted to take this frame out, which looks like so. All right, and we're never going to use this again. So it'll go with these plastic heatsink hold downs. We're never going to use these again. You might hold on to them in case, I don't know,
I just throw
you
them in a
need one.
motherboard box, and then there's our frame.
Yeah, so then we're going to grab our contact frame here, which again, I think is a complete waste of money. However, it does look pretty neat.
Pretty neat.
Now, something I should have done a little differently, I'm realizing now, is before I took this frame off, I should have went ahead and mounted the CPU in there. That way the pins would have been protected. So I missed a step. Also, we know that pin 1 is over here in this corner. And this corner does have a little flat spot on it that indicates that as well. And that would have avoided any confusion over which way to put the CPU in that I'm about to encounter right now. So we'll grab the CPU. It's okay, I'm a professional. I can do this 3 different ways. Let me open this up and take out the CPU. Okay, the CPU has the gold arrow, and I'll be careful. You don't want to drop anything right now. So we're going to rotate that this direction so that that arrow is going to match. There was an arrow here.
Yeah.
And the CPU will only fit in one way. You can tell because it's got a little notch cut out right there and one just above it. And there's little tabs sticking out that fit into those notches that don't exist on the sides. And if you turn it around the other way, the notches would be moved over this way and wouldn't line up. So there's a couple of different visual cues to look for. Now, when I set this in, I let the pads of my finger kind of rest on this edge, so I'm not touching the pins. And that allows me to get very close and then gently set it down and rest it on top. And you can verify that it doesn't twist. If it twists, you're not in the socket. Now, this is resting just over the pins. It's not until we put pressure down onto it that it compresses down and makes contact. So these included screws are what we're going to use. We don't reuse any screws here. And then on the contact frame, we have that same arrow right there. That's going to face, in my case, it faces me, right? There's our arrow. And this will fit like that.
Scissors.
Doesn't that look cool?
Scissors.
Oh yeah, I need to open this
Scissors.
plastic bag. Thank you, nurse. That's her finger.
Oh,
Thank you.
gotta
I got
have
it.
a little one.
All right, so don't throw those away. I got that sticker in there. I got to get the Go Faster
Oh.
sticker. It's on the other side. I know it's tricky.
Forget it.
Yeah, that's why I just set it aside. I'll take care of it later. All right, let me get these screws out of here. Now, what we want to do with these screws, these are going to be the same Torx. And you're going to use the same tool here to put these replacement screws that comes with the contact frame. And I'm just going to set the screws in right now. Is this the dumbest add-on ever? I think it might be. And you say it looks cool, but when you put the heatsink on, can you see it? Nope.
Nope.
So why are you doing this?
Yeah. $8.
To tell you and show you why you shouldn't.
Okay.
Now, I will do a video doing a heat test, but clearly this is not a CPU that gets that hot. But we'll do a 14900K with and without the contact frame using everything else the same cooler, and verify that if it makes a difference, that's likely the kind of system. You certainly don't need this on an AM5 because it's a square shape. Intel's chips are rectangular, and that's what they say makes them prone to bending in the middle when they get hot. So if you never run it hot, that's another issue. So that you wouldn't have to contend with. So I'm going to rewind this back a little bit. And normally when you go backwards, you'll hear the screw fall into the socket. However, because the back plate has fallen, it's no longer, see how I move the board, the back plate underneath isn't moving. So for example, if I lift this up and out of the way, there's our back plate right there. And we need to get to these holes. All right, these are the holes that the heatsink is going to go in.
Okay.
So these holes that are very flush, those have to, this is going to be a little tricky with this board having the connectors on the other side. It's lifting the board up in a way. So what would have helped me if I had a brain is I would have left these on.
Of course.
Because that's going to hold the back plate up for us. But I was trying to give you guys, I was thinking of you. All right? I was thinking you'd see better. On the other hand, it's not like it's a big deal. Back there, it's backwards. It's on that way. Drag this board up. Come on. See, I just made it harder on myself. I did, so two things to do differently. One would be, go ahead and leave these on and put the CPU in. Then take the frame off and put the contact frame on. Then take these off. That should be the order of events. If you don't follow the order, it's not the end of the world. You're just working harder than you need to. So what? You know what I mean? Like, you know, who cares? It's doable either way. So now if I raise this up here, I'm going to have to, just going to have to hold it with my hand. Once I put one on, it's likely going to hold in place now, and I don't have to hold it anymore. Side too, just because when I tighten this frame, I want everything to not possibly warp. And I didn't consider those ports on the back of this board, you know, lifted up so that back plate would fall away. Normally, the back plate would drop a little bit, but not that far. All right. So we'll pretend we did it the other way, just between you and me. Don't tell anybody. The Arlo secret. And again, a learning experience. Why do we do a certain order of events? Sometimes it's just OCD, and other times there's actually a reason that makes sense. But when I wind these backwards now, very gently, and I don't know if the microphone with the noise suppression will pick it up. There's like a click.
Yep.
When you hear that click, that means it's seated into the threads below. So rewind the opposite corner. Did you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
You can also feel it. Because you don't want to cross thread. You want to make sure these are going in straight. Ooh, that one was quick. And then we want to go opposite corners. And just to the point of getting some resistance, Then you want to slow down and turn the screws a little at a time. So we'll go right there,
What kind of wrench is that?
right there. This is a Torx.
Wasn't the guy in the band the Monkees Peter Torx? No,
Peter Torx.
no, T-O-R-K. Torx.
And Davy
Jones.
Jones.
Yeah.
Davy Jones Locker.
Yeah.
Whatever that was about. And so you see I'm doing opposite sides, right? So we want to make sure we're completely flush. There's not going to be any warping. And then if you want more leverage, you turn it this way. And then we'll tighten.
But don't wrench it. Yeah.
Did you see they're making a movie on Richard Simmons and Pauly Shore's going to play him?
Yeah.
Have you looked at Richard Simmons and Pauly Shore side by side?
They look
They
alike.
look very
alike,
similar.
yeah.
And Pauly Shore's been doing some exercise videos online.
Hmm.
And I guess that's what sort of brought it. Hey, you know, he's even wearing the short shorts. I don't think he's doing it on purpose.
Hmm.
They said, you would make a great Richard Simmons.
But it's the getting the hair right.
Well, that makeup will do that.
Yeah,
And then
wig.
Richard Simmons came out of hiding and said, I don't approve of this. And I
Yeah.
don't give him a...
Yeah,
Normally, he's like in hiding now.
Right, for a biopic. So
He's like 75 years old. He's like, leave me alone.
so now we can remove those, correct?
Yes. Now that we've seated this, these now again, if we had a heatsink that's going to attach, we'd leave these on. But the heatsink we've got is going to screw down, which personally I prefer. Into the bag. Let's go over to camera one here momentarily so people can see what we're side of that view. We're taking this off, and Mitch has got this little.
Please, sir, may I have some?
That's the bag the contact frame came in. Now the little Go Faster sticker that AMD gives you. Those of you who've used AMD's probably have tried to reach around back to get that, but it's actually something you kind of have to peel out.
Ah,
See that?
like a car.
No.
No. You still driving that Yugo? No. Yeah.
The Yugo has to start.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Hey, that thing's worth like $400 now.
Okay.
I don't own a Yugo. See how much fun it is to
Yeah.
get this out?
But you want a VW thing, right?
I wish.
Yeah.
Some fun cars.
Yeah.
Especially in Arizona when it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
I'm just going to use a little tool.
Nurse? Yeah. Turn your head and cough.
There it
There
is.
you go.
Yeah, they're not supposed to do that at the dentist. Are
Yeah.
they? That was wrong.
Little teeny tiny Ryzen 5.
Hey, makes your computer go 10% faster. That is not true. What do we got? Oh, there's instructions in here. Who needs these? Why am I showing it to this camera when that camera's on? Let me switch back over. Take a look at these.
Because it's covering your face.
Take a look at these.
Ah,
Clear as mud.
yep. File that. Mm.
Did you get all that?
Yeah.
You like my camera face? What are we at? 20 minutes before we're at 3 hours? Let's see if we can step this up. All right,
Okay.
now, underneath these, we better go back to camera.
One.
Close-up camera.
We need a number one for those. Yeah.
Underneath this should be some M.2. And that's it. I think there's one under here.
No,
No, there's
that's
VRM.
capacitors, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything under
Yeah,
here
there.
for us. It's probably chipset. So whatever M.2. Do we have M.2 on the back? I don't recall seeing any M.2 on the back. No. So apparently this doesn't have very many M.2 slots. So we're going to take this off. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. We'll need the Japanese industrial standard.
Number one.
Right here. Tiny screws, don't lose them. They're not captive, so That's kind of a disappointment when they're that small.
If you drop them in your shag carpety.
You know what?
Yeah.
Maybe you can get
Yeah.
away with not completely removing them. If I flip this over, though, oh, look, standoffs came out. Oh, they are standoffs.
Ah,
So those screws are different on this side because on this side, they're not there.
gotcha.
So I guess that makes it easy to know how to put it back.
Hmm.
And then we have two M.2s. And may I say, congratulations and thank you to MSI for putting the screws there for us so they don't have them in the box in wasteful packaging. And then we've got thermal tape already pre-applied with a little cover on them. So depending on which M.2 slot we want to use. Now, are both of these M.2 slots equal or is one faster than the other? For that, we need to refer to the manual to determine because I don't see any writing on either one. Well, wait a minute. Some writing. No, it's just like part numbers. That's not going to help me. So let me go back. Let's go do this. Let's go back to camera one here for a second. Let's go back over to the manual. Did I leave the manual open or did I close it? Closed it. That was wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I think I did that when I was Google searching some information on that flash process. So I have to re-download. Usually where I want to look for on the manual is usually pretty much right up in the first few pages here. So let's grab the window capture this time. And let's make this font a little. Usually right in the specifications where there's a picture of the board and they can tell you what they are. So like this, for example, is telling us if we're going to use 2 RAM modules, which sockets to use.
Okay.
And this board also has a little etching on the front. So we don't need to refer to the manual because it tells you right on the board. So we'll come back to that. Let's continue looking for 2 information. Again, it'll be right up here in the front. Specifications. Okay, so here under storage, M.2, 2 slots, supports up to PCIe 4, Gen 4 by 4. Apparently both slots are equal. Doesn't matter which one we use.
Okay.
And it will support RAID 0, RAID 1, and RAID 10 for SATA. And it supports RAID 0 or RAID 1 only for M.2. So we could take 2 4-terabyte drives, pair them together for one big 8-terabyte drive. But if either one fails, everything's gone.
Yep.
So I hope you have your backups. So it doesn't matter which one we use. Which one do you think we want to use? I'm thinking the bottom one because it'll move us away from the potential heat
Okay.
from, if a video card gets put in there, right? If you've got a slot here.
Yep.
Suppose we can go back over to the subcam. If we have a Gen 4 drive generating heat here, and we have a graphics card generating heat here, and we're generating heat here, we want to move the heat away. Now, it's obviously designed to have 2 drives side by side, which is going to generate even more heat. So this is really 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and my theory probably doesn't, well, it does probably make a difference with the heat. It's not significant enough to really cause any issue, but I'm kind of a better safe than sorry. So when given a choice, with everything else being equal, I'm going to go to that slot down at the bottom. That also means that when I put this back on, which way did it go? I'm going to go this, yeah, because that slot there goes through that hole. This is the plastic cover. I want to take that off now so I don't forget. That's where we're going to put, that's our SK Hynix.
Go ahead and open it.
Where did this screw come from? Did I lose the other one? No, it's still there. Oh, sorry. So that screw is for the heatsink, and the small screw that I left on the driver is for the M.2 drive. So we're going to cut back over to camera 1 here so you can watch Mitch open a box. Where else can you get riveting video like this on the internet? Watch this video titled Old Man Cutting Box. That was me, by the way. You would be ancient men cutting.
Okay.
I said you would be.
What do we have here? We got our engine. I lost it.
No, you haven't. This,
Oh, it's
this
under
will,
here.
this will throw a lot of people.
Yeah, I lost it here.
So this happened to me too. So don't feel bad. When you open up an SK Hynix drive, you go, I got no drive.
Well,
Where is it? But you see how it's cut out here?
ah.
And you see there's a lip.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to do this so it doesn't fall out.
Yeah.
Separate. I think this indentation, it's there to keep the drive from moving around, but it gives you the impression somebody stole your drive.
Yeah.
So we're going to separate. I want to do this without knocking the drive out. It's kind of tight. I'll just put my thumb over the drive, and now I can rip that off without worrying about that thing flying across the room. And then there's our M.2. Now this is, what is this, 2 terabyte?
2 terabyte.
2 terabyte. It's a fast drive. And, well, of course, we don't have Samsung Magician. Still a really good high-performing drive. Very highly rated. You can look for other reviews specifically on this drive, or even Google for articles where they've written about this drive.
And it was a bargain for 2 terabytes.
It was a good price.
Yeah.
So, and then if you look here on the motherboard, it says, see right there?
Yeah.
It tells us where to put the memory modules if we've got 2. It says first, and it shows that we're going to use the one closest to the edge and second away from the CPU here. So we're going to put a RAM module in and skip a slot, put the other RAM module in. First, let me go ahead and put this cover back on. So I've already removed the tape. And just make sure that at least I have something to line here.
Right.
I'll give them credit for that. Now I can just, it's not important that these have to be all tightened equally, but it isn't going to hurt to tighten them equally, right? To not tighten one,
Right.
just start them all. And that's a good practice in general. Sort of a better safe than sorry type thing here. Once you get them mostly installed, at that point, you can go ahead and tighten them down, and don't over tighten these folks. They just need to be snug. Bring them down, snug it up. They're good to go.
2
Project
terabytes.
Zero. 2 terabytes installed. Now we've got our RAM. So let's go ahead and take these empty boxes and set them over there. Oh, this is the good stuff. All right, so OLOy, this is the Blade RAM. Okay, Mitchie.
All right.
See.
Another blade spread out.
Yeah. Mitch with the knife.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to use this thermal compound that, well, I'm showing this camera. I'm not going to use this thermal compound. I don't know if it's any good or not. I don't know. But our OEM heatsink has already got thermal. Thank you very little.
3D.
My eye.
Right.
All right, so the RAM, if I go back over to close-up camera, here's a little information about the RAM. It's also, there's a link in the video notes if you're interested. There's all your details right there. My eye. There's what the RAM looks like, in case you never saw RAM before. Oh, that's interesting. It doesn't have that bronze top anymore. Now it's very obviously. So the other OLOy we used had sort of this bronze top,
Okay.
and I thought it was an RGB, but light shined through it. Now this has the kind of a frosted top, which is obviously RGB. I don't know what the difference is.
And you want to put those in before the cooler. Usually put the cooler on and then the thing, but whatever. Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I might put these in first because
To be fair.
that cooler's not
Yeah.
going to have an issue
Sure.
with clearance. Now, when we take RAM out of the package, you don't want to bend the RAM. If necessary, bend the package and the RAM just kind of is free there. Now, some RAM is going to have some plastic on it. This doesn't seem to have any. And then when we go to install the RAM, I open all the clips, even though I'm only going to use 2 of these. And we're going to go to see if this notch lines up this way or the other. It's got to be. We're going to gently put it in the track and lower it down. If you use any force, you're doing it wrong. No force should be needed. When it's properly aligned, this side isn't opening, and they do that because it would interfere with the graphics card if it were there. So let's go ahead and just see if we can gently put this in the track. If you put one side down before the other, it's on an angle and it won't sit right. But that's awfully stiff. It's stiffer than I like, but it looks like it's all lined up. At that point, then we can use force, and we can go one corner and the other corner. And you will hear it click into place. You should. So basically, this label needs to face the CPU. And we're going to skip a channel, line it up in the track. Should go in nice and easy. That's a little tighter than normal, but we're good there. But before we put any force, we just want to make sure we are in that track on both sides and that our notch is lining up. It's quite a bit of force. Now I can close these. And for the sake of just wrapping this video, because we've got about, I want to wrap up here in the next 10 minutes. Okay. We're going to apply power to this just as it is. It's going to be a little tricky because with the connectors being on the bottom side of the board, I have to figure out how I want to do this. And we'll just do our first test fire, assuming we get into the BIOS and everything posts correctly. Then everything else is a formality. So let's go ahead and get that heatsink put on. Let me grab a different driver here. I need my yellow handle. All right, so Mitch has handed me the AMD stock cooler, which should be all we need for this build. Thermal compound is already reapplied. And typically, this can go on one of two ways. In most cases, you can put it on with the AMD logo over on this side, or flip it 180 degrees, and it could go on this way too. Now, personally, this is kind of close to the RAM. I don't like this sticking out. You know, if I use that last RAM module, it's going to cut things a little close for me. So those are the only two ways we can install. And you can see we've left a little residue behind, but that's okay. So this is the way I want to install it. Just like this. Make sure that we're lined up. Don't worry about this plug yet. We'll get to that in a minute. And we're going to just start a couple of turns here. Opposite corner. Couple of turns. Don't go too many turns, because what's happening is it's going to start seating this down against these springs, and it's going to make these last two very difficult to start. So no more than a couple turns on this. You definitely want it to get started, or you're going to have a heck of a time if you start tightening the others. You'll have to loosen them in order to get, you know, if you thought you got it started and you didn't, you'll find out soon enough. And the best, easiest way to remedy that would be to just loosen them back up. Just keep them barely threaded in there. Now that we've got them started, we'll just turn them a few more times. Just 2, 3. 2, 3. You don't have to do 3. That's just what I'm doing. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that one's already tight. 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this one all the way down too now. Guess what? I didn't start that one. See that? I thought it was started. Yep. It's just spinning. And now to start it is going to be very difficult. So we're going to back these off, especially this one on the opposite side. Don't back them off too much or they'll pop out. So I turned that one until it tightened to make sure it was in, and now I'm backing it off. So once again, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. That's tight. 2, 3, 4, tight. 1, 2, 3, 4, tight. Just one more check. That's tight. Opposite corner, tight. Tight. Always go opposite corners. Finally, we have our CPU power cable. What's interesting about the CPU power cable is I think we have to run this behind the board some way. I thought that would be one connector. That would be, one wire that we would see, but it appears maybe you're supposed to go right through there. Is that maybe how it works? Where's our CPU header? Oh, CPU fan on the other side, Carey. It's over here.
Will it reach?
And my power cable's over here. So that's not the right routing. It's the way I would have done it, but I always do it the hard way. So we're going to have to run this cable. Guess they don't want us running it. We need to run it this way. So there is a little bit of cable you can see. And then on the other side of the board. Now for now, the heatsink will be a nice little pedestal for us when we flip this over, but we don't want to turn it on that way because then it won't be able to breathe. We'll plug this into CPU fan right there. Okay, and while it's upside down, let me grab the power supply. Let's go back to camera 1 again. And put the screwdriver away. Let me grab the power supply. Don't plug the power supply into power until you're just about ready to turn the machine on. You don't want anything to accidentally power up before you're ready. That's never happened to me before. He lied. So that's why I do it that way. So we're gonna, I think we can get this for right. Let's get this out of the way. Getting hungry, Mitch?
A bit peckish,
Little peckish.
I could eat.
Well, we're just about ready. We're gonna run a little bit long. But overall, not too bad considering our challenges today. Power on CPU power 1. Guess they want you to use 1 before you use 2. And then I need a power switch.
Okay.
So where's that gonna go? Is it over here? Yeah, this connector, you didn't know what it was over here?
Mhm.
This is where power switch, power LED, all that goes right up here, right up at the top. But for the audience, it's the top right corner. For us,
Where's your little switch here?
but we have a lot of them in there. There's a ton of them. How about we use this one? I haven't used this one in a while.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and plug, we'll use the LED too, why not? Plug in, should be the same layout, just backwards. So the switch would go on the top row, and the LED will also go on the top row closest to the edge. Positive cable closest to the edge. So that's exactly the same orientation of cables. Now, flip this back over. So normally this would be in a motherboard, right? And we're going to have to just kind of have it a little wonky here. This out of the way. And then I'm going to plug in keyboard and mouse, which I have over here. Let's go ahead and move this switch over towards you. That way the explosion goes that way.
Okay.
And then I'll grab my HDMI cable as well, and we'll get the power cable in.
Yep. Smoke test, kids? Yay or nay?
Yeah,
Real smoke? Or?
You guys think it'll work? Poof. Did we update the BIOS correctly? Is our RAM compatible?
My vote is meh.
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 Thanks for your
Yeah,
enthusiasm.
some more. Well, that's neither yes or no. Meh.
Okay, so we're turned, the power supply now has power. We are live with power. And I'm going to switch over to our HDMI input here before you do anything.
Wouldn't that be lit though? The power button be lit?
Not until there's power.
No.
All right, let me go to the HDMI input and let's reduce the size of camera 1. Let's move it over here. Okay, buddy. You ready?
Yeah. Smoke test, here we
I feel
go.
like
1,
SpaceX at
2,
this point.
3. Right again.
Well, that was
Disappointing.
thought more would happen.
Yeah. Nothing.
Let me check my power cable. Good here.
What about here?
Yeah, did I wire the switch backwards?
I don't know.
Work! I said work, damn it. Hold on, let's just make sure I've got all my cables seated properly. Let me shut that down for a moment. Let's flip this bad boy back over here. This gets a little bit complicated. Yeah, see, I don't have that cable anywhere close to being installed all the way.
The power, yeah.
The main 24-pin power cable is sticking up a good 3 millimeters. That wasn't me.
No.
Did you do this?
No. I didn't hear the click. Still didn't.
This connector is there.
I heard the click.
There we go. It's definitely the connector's
Okay.
fault. Don't turn it on yet. Put it back over so they're with all the cables hooked up with this being wired backwards. This would be much easier to do in the case. All right, but we're professionals. So let's try this one more time. Feeling for the switch. Okay.
Now?
Anytime you're
No.
ready.
3, 2, 1.
Fan spun for a second. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Hey, a RAM lit up. We've got RGBs.
No touchy.
Now, remember the first boot could take 60 to 90 seconds
seconds.
as it trains the CPU and RAM. And be patient. And look how good that CPU contact frame looks.
I can't see it.
Hey, look.
BIOS. That's an odd BIOS.
Press F1 to set up. F1 it shall be.
That's much better. Yeah.
And we should have that latest BIOS. What was, you remember the version I downloaded? Does anybody remember?
0. Oh no, that's the motherboard.
BIOS version 0. Let's take a look if we turn off camera 1 so we can see the whole BIOS.
It was
161. Were we on 161?
I don't know. It was beta. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
January 4th, 2024. That
Okay,
was what,
yeah.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah. So that's got to be new.
That's brand new. BIOS flash worked. Contact frames working. Got low CPU temps here. And RAM is working, fully compatible. And I suppose I can take the close-up camera out one more time here so you guys can see what that RAM and everything looks like while it's all fired up and get a top-down view. Let's go this way. And geez, we've been switching between 4 inputs. We're really using the heck out of our capture card today. Let's go over to close-up camera.
Kill the lights. Isn't that slick?
You see any cables?
Nope.
I mean, ignore all this over here. Never mind that. It's all clean. So now, what remains is we have to mount the motherboard into the case. We've got to install Windows, do the Windows updates, install drivers, load Carey's Windows 10 optimizer, install the power supply, obviously, when we install into the case. We're good to go. We are done. So overall, a little bit of fumbling, a little stumble, but first time experience with a brand new concept here with, you know, some unique challenges that, I'll turn the ceiling fan on.
The cables in the back.
I hit the wrong button.
Ah.
That's better. So overall, totally worth it as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I've been doing this for such a long time that anytime we can mix it up and have an, even if it's a slightly different experience, I'm hungry for that. So I think it's a great idea, this whole projectzero thing. And overall, a little challenging to work out of the case overall. I would say, you know, put the motherboard into the case might be one of the first things you want to do.
Yeah.
The contact frame is a complete waste of money, by the way. At least I think it's a waste of money regardless. But if you're ever going to use one, really you want it on an Intel chip primarily. Doesn't really have any benefit on an AMD because AMDs are square and Intels are rectangular. And then again, on high-end Intel chips, you know, something that ends on a letter K, and the bigger the number, the hotter it's going to be, and the more likely it could theoretically bend, which could cause the heatsink to kind of no longer be touching the top of the spreader. And as a result of that, then you get higher temperatures. That's the theory the manufacturers are going to say. So am I not? I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry, guys. I thought I was full screen. Now we're full screen.
Yeah.
I had it full screen for us and not you guys. Overall, I hope you were able to learn along with us. And that's the point of these videos, is to be informal, not to be polished and edited down where all that good stuff. To me, that's the best part of the whole video, is you're biting your nails going, did he break it? Is the BIOS going to work? If you say 10 minutes versus if you wait 10 minutes, that's a very different experience. As we experienced together, it felt like forever. And by shutting the machine off after a certain amount of time, you see we didn't damage anything. But you want to wait in excess, especially when BIOS flashing, just to be sure. Because if damage is done, it won't matter regardless when you turn it off. If the damage is done, the damage is done. I'm going to go ahead and shut this down here. And I want to thank everybody once again for your super chat contributions today, for your participation in the chat room. To all my members, I thank you for helping keep this channel independent. And we will have a part 2 where this will go in the case, because that case is also a little different. How? I'm not sure yet until we get it and we work on it. This little piece here, this is kind of extra. Got somewhere to put this stuff. Let me check the phone one last time just to see if I've missed anything coming in while we're working. Just one of those was weird. What? Oh, no, just kidding. All right, let's see. Looks like we do have, oh, it's a message from our friend Marco. Okay. He's just being silly. And let's go to, where's my inbox? Okay. Again, thank you to Paul O'Brien and Alan Lindus and Luke Greenia for your contributions, as well as Leibowitz IT Services. Thanks, you guys, once again. Plus all your super chats.
That went back to the beginning, but
well, no, that's so. This is the YouTube Studio screen.
Oh, gotcha.
That's not our
Yeah,
OBS. That's why you see me have the OBS screen up, so we don't get thrown by that delayed feed.
Yeah.
The YouTube Studio is terrible. There's no excuse for that. That's why I have this. See, this is much more up to date, but it's still behind. But when looking at OBS Studio, we're still taking the heatsink out of the box or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why. The studio's been open the whole time. Why is the video falling behind? That's on YouTube. And it's very confusing if you're a creator and you think you're, and why am I watching something from a half an hour ago? Thank you, Mara, for monitoring our chat, doing our thumbnail. Great thumbnail today, as always, and of course the video notes. We bought all these parts. Nothing came from MSI for free. All the parts that we purchased, we have our purchase links where we got these parts are in the video notes. That's exactly what we paid. That's exactly where we bought them. Finally, just to remind you that that would not be possible without you guys and without our friends at Acronis, Instant House Call, RoboForm, and VIP CDK deals with the discounts they offer you. They're discounts that are all year, well,
on everything but Instant House Calls so far. We'll talk with them and see how long we can extend a discount. But for right now, there's a discount on all of those products available to you. They all have trials, so you can try before you buy. They're all guaranteed. And so there's a peace of mind that if you are going to buy the product, you're going to get that product. There's no tomfoolery.
Okay.
No, not hanky panky. No, there's no scamming happening here. I personally am very involved in picking out which companies we allow to associate with, because as a professional technician, I don't want to jeopardize my integrity. So I'm not in it for the buck. I'm in it to save you money and to make sure you buy quality stuff. So it's up to you if you want to take advantage of these offers. But thanks to the folks at Acronis, RoboForm, Instant House Call, and VIP CDK deals for making these deals. They didn't have to. Available to you guys. And of course, thanks to all you guys for your chat, membership, super chats, and your friendship. Your kindness is very appreciated. And of course, thanks to our friend Mitch here.
Yeah. If I'll try to send you photos from set. I'm sure, they won't want me to video, but because I'll be working, but photos, I said, are you going to have some stills of me in the car and the cameras and the lights? They're like, yeah. So cool. I need that for my social media.
Sure, absolutely.
So, and then they claim that'll be Saturday, February 3rd. I'll have a video copy about a week or 10 days later in high def.
We can premiere it here.
The actor and I have been working with our acting coach for the last 3 weeks in class every Monday, working on the one-page scene and polishing it. So I think we're getting pretty close. Yeah.
Well, you better be.
Yeah.
It's a long drive to do it again.
Yes. Good old Burbank.
All right. Right. Well, that'll wrap it up for us for today. Thank you guys again. And we will see you all very, very soon. And, Mitch tolerated me again.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it.
Yeah. Should I say the end? Yeah. Bye for now.
What he said. My stomach's growling. That's it.
Good
Stomach
time to eat.
growls. We got to go.
Enjoy the weekend.
Bye for now.
Bye.